Today I want to talk about what you need to do with your Jetson Bolt Pro before you take it on your first ride. Pull the Jetson Bolt Pro out of the box like so. Pull down the kickstand so that you can have it upright. The pedals are clearly labeled left and right, so screw them in accordingly. Keep note of the thread. One of them turns the opposite way. If your seat is not tight enough and it's moving like this, undo this clamp. And you're gonna have to hand tighten this a lot more. Clamp it down again, it'll be really tight. Pull up the handlebars and latch it into place. There's an additional plastic slider, hook it up. If you're unhappy about it being too loose, I don't blame you. Easily fixed. Turn it up until it stops. It's tight again. Loosen, turn, tighten. If your handlebars aren't as tight as you want them to be, open this up, hand tighten this all the way. Once your hand tighten all the way, make sure it's in the right position, unscrew this just half a turn. And then when you clamp it down, it's gonna be really tight. Screw to tighten. Wrap around, hook. This throttle has been known to come loose, and you can get to that little Allen key by removing this one first. Okay, so you screw it, you remove it. Once you move it around, you can feel that notch, and then you screw it in tight. Position this back to where it belongs. Be sure this one is fairly tight. You do not want your brakes to be moving. That's why I got one of these longer Allen keys. These reflectors will fall off on you. You see how much it moves? Take it out right now, Allen wrench. Do about 4 full circles. Then they just split apart. You'll need one of these thread tighteners. Vibra-Tite stays forever moist. Thread locker dries up like a stressed out 40-year-old with kids. Spend a little more, you won't regret it. Here's your reflector. Push it so the nut side goes up. Apply some Vibra-Tite or other thread locker. Before you put it back on, there's an angle. It should angle downwards on both sides, okay? You tighten too much and it will break off just like I did right now. So I'm just gonna use reflector sticker in a later video. This one is important. Before you go out, you gotta make sure that your brakes are properly working. Can you see that the calipers are pressing up against the rotors? If it isn't, there's an easy fix. You just turn this and you should see this arm start to move as well. You see, when I'm turning it this way, the arm is going upwards. That means it's just tightening. So your handlebar should be tighter now, and if it's not, you can adjust this handlebar version as well. Once you feel you have enough tension, then you can start tightening it this way. There's 2 pieces, and this piece should go on tight right here, and it keeps it from rotating. Do the same for the rear brakes. And at this point, you're almost ready to go. However, there's just one more thing. Your ride ends if you get a flat tire. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, said a wise man who never warned me about marriage. So I'm gonna remove the stem and apply 2 ounces of slime. This will prevent the tire from going flat. And if I get a flat on the road, there's no way I'm gonna fix it myself. I'm gonna take the bus or I'm gonna take an Uber. So let's get started. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you will need the stem removal tool. You have to remove this item right here. That's probably enough. Put the stem back in. This wasn't tight when I first started, so I'm not gonna make it very tight. Now I'll have to inflate my tires again, and this tire is rated for 45 pounds. So I am going to inflate it to 45 pounds. So I'm right about there. That's good enough. So the centrifugal force will coat the tires all around and it'll just prevent punctures. And now I'll be working on the rear tire. And now you are ready for an adventure. So it turns out the Jetson Bolt Pro is quite a bike. However, there are 10 things I wish I knew about this bike before I bought it. Let's talk about it. First off, I've seen pictures of these lights and I just assumed that it was powered by the bike. This one is not powered by the bike, only this one is. The second one is this battery indicator. When you throttle it, sometimes it drops down to 3 and let go and it pops back up to 4. It's not as accurate and somewhat deceiving, like an airbrush Instagram model that keeps showing up on my feed. I don't control the algorithm. Number 3, this e-bike is rated for 15 miles an hour. I only got 13 when I first got the bike. It's a bit unfair, like buying a bag of chips and getting mostly air.
Wow!
Number 4, despite the speed issue, I wish I knew that this bike is kind of peppy. It's quite fun to ride, and if I knew it was that fast before I bought it, I mean, this thing feels fast. Yeah, I would have bought it sooner. I haven't rode a bike this small in decades and it's quite fun. I feel like a kid again, well, with the exception of the lost hair and thank goodness for helmet laws. Number 5 goes to this seat. Oh man, this thing is quite painful. If you're doing any extended amount of riding, you'll want to change this out ASAP. I'll definitely create an accessories video for the Jetson Bolt Pro. Number 6, how much my kids love this bike. They're seriously asking for it more than they ask for money. Number 7 is the hidden budget associated with this bike. You may need a seat, helmet, light, locks. I should have saw those coming, but it was out of sight, out of mind, like how I'm ignoring my kids right now. The number 8 thing I should have done before buying the Jetson Bolt Pro was market research. Facebook groups, YouTube, I did none of that. This bike was truly an impulse buy. Sometimes you do things on a whim, and buying the Jetson Bolt Pro was one of them, as well as getting married.
Wow!
On a very related note is number 9. Yeah, I didn't take in all the considerations of the pricing options. Sometimes this thing goes on sale at Costco. All right, you can get a coupon, and it also goes on sale at the right Jetson refurbished. You could get serious savings there as well. My local Costco has them stocked up. It could be an upcoming sale or Black Friday, holiday season. It helps to look up these things before you do it. Number 10 on the list has got to be the battery anxiety. Being down 2 bars is equivalent to mother calling you home for dinner. It's a real thing and it's gonna stress you out. The first 2 bars does seem to take a lot longer to deplete. However, once you're down 2 bars, pedaling, I don't think so. Bigger battery upgrade? Absolutely. See, the more you ride this thing, the more you become acclimated to it, and your habits, you start riding more and more each day. Once your battery starts to go, there's other things that happen as well. you start to get battery sag, and what happens is that you're just not producing enough power as before. You're just a little bit slower than before, like a 90-year-old lady. This is the Jetson Bolt Pro, and it may seem familiar. That's because it's super popular. And the reason they sell so well is because they cost only $399 and often on sale for $299. Before I show off the bike, I'll let you know that some parts are already modified. So I have bikes in the back that have unmodified parts, which I'll refer to. Starting off at the front, these are 14-inch tires. These are rims, no spokes, the light, reflector, mud guards. Continuing on, mechanical disc brakes on 160mm rotors. The bike is quite simple. It offers just a single speed. While this isn't the same bike as the Jetson Haze, it does offer the same seat. Maybe it's not the best comfort. However, I've had worse. When you first receive the bike, this handlebar will come in a reverse fashion, and you just have to tighten up this clamp. The reason why this bike has this foam is just to protect from that clamp in case you fly forward in an accident. Moving on, this is the handlebar, and it has a locking mechanism that you slide out of the way, and you open this to fold back. The folding mechanism is extremely simple. However, I'd like it if it were a single locking mechanism instead. The handlebars have a slippery, hard rubber type feel. Here's the power button. Here's the bell. And here is the cruise control. You press it once. You hold it for 8 seconds for the light. And here is the accelerator. Oh, acceleration. The accelerator is a full handle. I wish it was a half throttle or a thumb. That's just my opinion. Here are the brake handles. Quite simple. And the wiring, it tucks neatly inside of this pole. From there, it exits this pole and into this pole down here, and then into the body. Moving to the rear, it has this light. It is completely decoupled. There is no charging mechanism. It's not integrated with the brakes, and the seat itself can't be raised that high, just about this high, so you can probably seat somebody up to 5'11", 5'10" comfortably. If you're looking for full range pedaling, this is not the bike. However, it's an electric bike. You have a throttle. You have pedal assist. This is a 350 watt motor. Inside of this casing is a 36 volt, 6 amp hour battery. This bike appeals to the young. This bike appeals to those willing to experiment, and according to my comment section, it also appeals to clowns. Bruh. Other than this foam and the seat, this bike is virtually unmodified. Let's do a speed test. Okay, this is going to be throttle only. .7, 12. Come on, give me my magical 13. On the box it says 15.5. I got 13. And that is all I'm going to get. I don't think it can go faster than that. Slight grade right here, and that's all there is to it. All right, now we are doing pedal assist, so I'm going to give it my all. All right, let's see how much I can go up to. It is at 11, 12, 13. Can I get 14? Well, 14, I am pedaling hard at this point. Can I even get 15? Yes, I got it, 15 miles an hour. But keep in mind, I am pedaling really hard to even get that fast. So if you need to get it, yeah, you'll get up to 15. Can you maintain it? You'll be tired as heck. Up next, the official first ride impressions. All right, first ride. This is packed dirt, packed sand, and it is comfortable here. But because this thing doesn't have any seats or suspension, I mean suspension, either the front or the rear, just got to be careful about running into bumps, and here comes one right now. Oh, you got to stand up for sure, or else that thing is going to eat away. Yep. Oh. Yeah, can I cut through grass? Yeah, I can cut through it, but I don't want to get stuck in it. Okay, let's keep going. All right. Oh. Little dog. This bike may not have the best features for off-roading, however, as a bike for festivals, for camping, as a city slicker, it's more than good enough. Next up is a grueling hill test at a 15% grade. Can the Jetson Bolt Pro handle it? Alright, we're going to test out the Jetson Bolt Pro. This thing only goes 13 miles an hour. This one is speed hacked. This is throttle only. And there's a good chance that it won't be able to make it up, but we won't know until we try, right? So here we are, we're going at it. We're at 8.8 miles an hour, and there's a good chance that this thing is going to give up a bit early, and maybe even really early. I'm down to 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, that's it. At the base of the hill. All right, so this time we're gonna go back around. I'm going to pedal, just staying in my seat pedal. I want to know if there's going to be enough juice to get me up the hill, because this thing is steep. It's a 15% grade. Okay, this time we're going to pedal. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Come on, Jetson, we can do this together. But really, can we? I don't know. Okay, in my seat, pedaling. It's nice and easy. 12 miles an hour. 11, 9. Yeah, that's it. Oh my goodness, I don't think I could even make up this hill. Okay, I'm gonna give up. I can't make it up any higher. But if I stand and give it my might, yeah, then this is okay. I can climb up the hill if I stand and give it a lot of juice. But it's quite awkward because this thing is just a small bike. And it feels like it's not, well, it does feel that it's helping me, just not much. I need a break. I'm almost there. All right, we've made it to the top. Next up, are the brakes, are mechanical brakes suitable for this type of bike? We're gonna find out soon enough. All right, for this brake test, this thing only goes 13.5 stock, so that's my goal, to get to that speed, and now brake. Okay, we're about there, a little bit fast, and I will brake. I think that was good, because this thing doesn't go that fast. So braking, not a big deal, even with these conventional disc brakes. Let's talk about the size of the Jetson Bolt Pro, and this is one of the biggest appeal of the item. It is less than 4 feet long, and when folded, it is less than 2 feet tall. That means you could fit it in most compact cars, in the side, front seat, and if you're bringing multiple bikes, you can consider using a minivan or an SUV. And in that case, you can bring a lot of Jetson Bolt Pros with you, because maybe you have friends unlike me. Maybe you have family. Maybe you have siblings. This bike is so small that I wouldn't think twice about keeping it indoors, in my bedroom, in my workroom, in my kitchen. although my wife might complain a bit. The point of being so small is that when you're bringing it inside of a store, you're bringing it in an elevator, you're bringing it upstairs, it's not going to be a huge hassle. The weight of 42 pounds also means that you probably don't need 2 people to carry one of these bikes. Depending on where you live, some public transport even allow you to take this on board. And the ability to take this on a bus or a train, last mile issues are solved. Let's talk about the range of the Jetson Bolt Pro. And this one is a bit difficult and it's a little bit harder to quantify for a few reasons. Let's start off with the size. Because this is a 216 watt-hour battery, it is quite small. I have some e-bikes on my channel with batteries that are substantially bigger. I'm talking about 2 or 3 times larger, and those can go like 20 to 30 miles. However, with the Jetson Bolt Pro, because of such factors as your weight, riding style, terrain, weather conditions, even wind is going to affect the range of this bike. What you're generally going to see is around 8 to 12 miles on the factory battery. If they advertise more than that, then it might be possible if you're using pedal assist. So why is the Jetson Bolt Pro so popular? It's a few reasons, and all of these reasons combined. If you look at the price, it is an ultra low barrier to entry. It allows people to try an e-bike without risking so much. You can get this e-bike on a whim and it's not going to be the end of the world. And speaking of whim, the reason why you can get this e-bike on a whim is because it's massively available at Costco. Having the ability to purchase in store, having the ability to return to one of the strongest retailers there is a safety factor that can't be ignored. The size of the Jetson Bolt Pro is not entirely unique. However, because it's not a fat e-bike, it has conventional tubing that allows for normal bike accessories to be attached quite easily, making it more customizable. And once you start to customize this bike, which a lot of people do, it becomes your own. It's not like everyone else's e-bike. This is yours. You have a personal connection to it. It then has a small emotional attachment to each of its users. That said, there are some obvious flaws. If you've used this for any amount of time, you know that e-bikes can have issues, and Jetson is not a very responsive company. Trying to get something from Jetson and having them respond to you is like trying to get customer service from the IRS. It can be quite difficult. Other factors, this bike comes bare basic. There's no LCD, there's no mileage counter, no speedometer, and the bell it's manual and it is quite cheap. Other than that, you are getting a decent foundation. This frame box can mount a larger battery. Because of the rear is basic, you can mount a rear rack. The handlebars, they don't extend. There's nothing fancy about it. So you could mount a front bag. And because of the simplicity, low cost, low weight, high value, it is surely to be a hit for a long time. This is the Jetson Haze, and it's a popular bike. That's because it's readily available at Costco. On the Ride Jetson website, you can find this for $8.99. On the Costco website, you could find it for $6.49. In the Costco warehouse, it goes for $5.99 and occasionally goes on sale for $4.99. However, the absolute lowest price you can find it for is $3.99 Jetson refurbished. According to Jetson, this bike can go 15.5 miles per hour, has a 15-mile range, which will be tested later, and can climb up a 15% grade. This thing weighs 48 pounds and has a weight limit of 265 pounds, which is unfortunate for my mother-in-law. With ride height, it is optimized for someone 5'6" or below, and if you're taller than that, then you'll just have to bend your knees. A drawback of having the shock in the rear is that the seating range is quite limited. The range is quite limiting, so if you're 5 feet and below, you might not be tall enough, and if you're over that height, full leg extension is not capable with this e-bike. All right, starting off at the bottom, we have 16-inch by 2.125 Chaoyang tires, 160 millimeter rotors, and no-name mechanical brakes. Here's the folding handlebar, and it's quite simple. Up, pull out, and it folds down. Starting off with the handlebar, this left side is just hard rubber. Here's the power. You have 3 speed modes, brake lever, bell, and this is to loosen. When you're at speed, press once for cruise control. Hold this down to turn on the light. And here is the throttle. It's a full throttle. Oops. It has a rear light, and the rear light is a brake light. Check this out. Check this out. 1,300 pounds per inch shock absorber. This is a magnet for the folding mechanism. This is a lock for your brake. This is the rear brake, mechanical brake. This is the fender. Kickstand is quite basic. Right here is a folding pedal. And this one is steel, which is nice. Up right here is the charging port for this battery, which is 48 volts, 8 amp hours. Right here is the seat clamp, which is different from the Jetson. It's Jetson Bolt Pro in that it's quite nice. The seat is just, it's not that comfortable, but it does the job. And here's the cable management into this folding pole. Through here and under the frame, it's nice and clean. All right, now it's time for a speed test. This e-bike has 3 speed modes, so we're gonna try 1, 2, and 3, and we're gonna do throttle only. All right, so here is the speed test. We are at level 1, and it goes up to 7 miles, 8 miles an hour. Let's see level 2, how much does it go? And it goes up to 10, 11, 11. All right, level 3. This is top speed right here, 14. That's about it, as fast as it goes right there, 14 miles an hour. All right, this time we're gonna do pedal assist and see what the max is on each of the modes. I am at 9, mode 1, mode 2. So this seems like it's similar to the full throttle. It's at 10, and mode 3. That's about it. It goes to 11. So your pedal assist can only go so much. It doesn't go full speed. If you want to go full speed, you'll have to throttle it. Well, now it's starting to pick up, but it's only at... Okay, that was odd. It picked up but a little bit later. So let's see if I can do this again. I'm at pedal assist. Pedaling like a hamster. Not 14. I just cannot pass that. So 14 miles an hour. Next up, we're going to have a look at riding impressions. How does it work on different terrain? Let's find out. Keep in mind, this is a 16-inch tire that's 2 inches wide, and it performs better than the Jetson Bolt Pro. However, it isn't a big or a large tire, so just keep that in mind. Here's soft dirt. It does get squirrely right there. And I mean, this bike isn't really meant for heavy off-roading, but I'll tell you what makes a difference. Those were hard stops right there, and you know, this seat with the rear shock, it makes a huge difference in comfort. So let's keep going. Yeah, other than that, it's a bit more stable than the Jetson Bolt Pro. This is a larger e-bike, so should be expected. those 16-inch wheels, they have decent stability. Let's keep on going. Yeah, on these smooth roads, everything is nice and dandy. It feels quite quick on the low end. I'm gonna get off the road for these people. Oh, here we go. And yeah, as long as you got some speed, the grass is all right. It's good. Yeah, this thing, the low end really kicks. Granted, it doesn't have a high top speed. Yeah, it feels great. Yeah, smooth ride. Too bad it can't go faster. Okay, do you know how to use this? How to turn it on?
I think the power here, right?
Yeah. This is the throttle and it has pedal assist, so once you start pedaling, it's gonna go, okay?
And this is a level 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, we put it on 3 because this thing doesn't go that fast, okay?
So how fast for the...
It goes 14 miles an hour.
So I just...
But it has a good, it kicks when it goes, you'll see.
Okay.
Just be careful.
Can I put the last level or only
the... Leave it
okay.
on 3. No,
3?
1 is too slow.
Oh, okay.
You'll see, it's not that fast.
Okay, get ready.
Okay.
Oh, this is...
Is it too high or something?
No, feel comfortable.
Or is it too low?
That's okay, good with me. Good for
Okay.
me. Okay.
You sure? All
Yeah,
right.
my feet
Go ahead.
is okay. It looks short, but actually not. Like,
yeah, that's the lowest I can put it too.
yeah, it looks short, but
can't go any lower.
It's a good size.
Okay,
See?
go ahead.
Okay, let's try. Ooh.
So what do you think?
Good.
Too fast or?
Okay, this bike good for people like to relax and ride a bike. 'Cause it's not super crazy speed.
What do you mean super crazy?
Like, I don't know how to tell you, but like some
it's not
bike
very
is
fast?
really fast. If you put like first level, it's really fast. But this is like good.
Not
Good
that fast?
for like, you don't need to drive a bike, but good for you just relaxing and drive.
Oh, to cruise.
Yeah. This side good for Asian.
Really?
Like me. I think not everybody, but I'm short, so.
So it's good for short people.
Good for short people like me.
Next up is the hill test. We are going to take it up this steep hill at a 15% grade. All right, this is a 48 volt bike. I am going to do throttle only. It should make it because this thing feels strong on the bottom end. And that's just my prediction. It's going to make Show it, Mr. Jetson. Here we are, 13 miles an hour, and the base of the hill, the hardest part, we are down to 10, 9, 8, 7. Oh my gosh, this is a countdown. This is a countdown. We are at 5. I'm so tempted to go. Oh my goodness, please, come on, show us you can do it, Jetson. Well, it hasn't given up, so we're at 3, but we're about to go past this heaviest part. I am tempted to pedal, but I haven't yet, okay? I'm just gonna go pedal backwards so that I'm not tempted to do it. Please, come on. Looks like we're gonna make it. It's just slow. This is probably the slowest I've been on a hill climb. I'm still, you know what, this part is too steep. Oh, so close, so close. That's it. Time to go back down. So the fact that it could pull so much, you know what? It's gonna have no problems going up the hill with pedal assist. We'll just see how fast it can go with pedal assist up the hill. This time around, pedal assist all the way. And let's get some speed. This is an incline even at this area. So I'm like near max speed already. All right, here is the steep part. And we are up at 12, 11. You know what, but this feels good though. 10. Yeah, it's steep, but I'm still moving. You see, I'm not extending. I'm not going super hard. I'm still at 9 miles an hour at the steepest part. All right, it drops down to 8. But still, this is pretty good. I'm not struggling. So that makes me happy. All right, we're almost there. And we're speeding up now, so that completes the hill test. Next up, how well do the mechanical brakes of the Jetson Haze hold up? Let's find out. All right, I'm gonna get up to 14 miles per hour, pedal assist, everything, and then I'm gonna do an abrupt stop. How fast can it stop? Let's see. Wow, that was pretty good. It's so smooth when you brake, and that rear seat, I think it helps a lot. That shock back there. Let's talk about the Jetson Haze's size, and the fact that you can fold everything means that you can fit it in really tight spaces. And the magic of the system has got to be the magnet. Yes, there's a magnet that holds the wheels together, meaning that you can take it for a walk if you wanted to. And not many e-bikes can have this claim. When it comes to putting it in the car, it's nice and small. Here it is next to the Bandit Pacer, which is a full-size e-bike. And of course, when it comes to absolute convenience, it can go sideways, no folding necessary. You think you can lift up this bike, or is it too heavy for you?
Let me try. I never try it.
A little bit heavy?
Yeah, just a little bit, but I can do it. With me, I can do it.
What about compared to that other Jetson that we have in the back?
I didn't try it, so I don't know. Next up, we need to talk about the range of the Jetson Haze. On the box, it says that this thing can go 15 miles. And going through all my tests, going through all of the hill riding, all the rough terrain, I was able to get 14 miles, which I think is pretty impressive. It's not far off from what is specified, so I don't feel like they're conning anybody over this. You know in advance that this is what you're gonna get with it. And on the plus side, the replacement battery is extremely inexpensive. That's if you can get your hands on one. $129 to effectively double your range. I think that's a fantastic deal. If I go far and it's really fast, this is like kind of a little bit slow. If I need to go like really fast.
And far.
Yeah, and far. But if I just go around a neighbor or someplace, just don't need like really far, it's really good for me.
So my opinion is that the Jetson Haze is definitely quick on the takeoff. It has a lot of low-end torque. However, the higher end, it could definitely go faster. I feel like Jetson is throttling this bike a lot because it feels a lot more powerful than it puts out. This is a $600 e-bike, and while I wish it did go faster, it probably appeals to the younger generation or the elderly generation who won't be traveling very fast with this e-bike. The frame size in general doesn't lend to very fast speeds.
However, it is nice that you can fold it down really small, and it is nice that it's only 48 pounds, and it is nice that it has a rear shock and absorbs so much of the vibrations. The Jetson Haze is the successor to the Jetson Bolt Pro, and it's not completely an upgrade. It's a sideways movement in that it definitely feels better as an e-bike overall, as a riding mechanism. However, there are some things that are missing. It doesn't have a seat in the back.
Can you make it like you can put a seat in the back or no?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I'm gonna have to try.
Okay. If you try, I can put the my little one, the 7 years old, sit at the back, and I can bring her around the neighbor.
Yeah, we'll see if it's doable.
Yeah, and I have a. Can you put one in the front too? My little boy, I carry two one time.
The front, it's gonna be tricky because there's this folding thing right here.
Oh.
And that means if you put something up here, then you can't fold it anymore. On top of that, this folding thing is it's kind of it's kind of thick. You see?
So it's different with another one.
Yeah, because it's wide this way, so it's not gonna fit normal stuff. I'm gonna have to find something away.
Okay, if you can make something is the back, one in the back and one in the front, because I have.
Well, you can carry stuff, right? Like a backpack and whatever.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it, then it's...
Actually, the backpack or something. Can you make like the basket in the front, like put in the front for the basket or something?
For sure.
That's easy. Then you put something here, right?
Yeah. So let's summarize some of the points. Drawbacks: that brake lock, it can be a bit of a problem putting on the rubber cap because it tends to push the lock into the rotor, so you just leave it dangling. Another thing is the ability to accessorize is severely limited. The top speed could be better, and the lack of LCD for monitoring. This is a $599 bike. All right, the price, it is $599 for this e-bike. At $499 it feels a bit more fair. $399 is a good deal. And for the pros, I'd say the low-end torque is quite good. The portability factor is right there on par with the Jetson Bolt Pro, even without folding all the way. And the stability, it's good for a small e-bike. It's 16-inch wheels, does make a difference. And the simplicity factor, I love that there's a 1, 2, and 3 for the pedal assist modes. I mean the power modes, because some areas you don't know how fast you're going, and with these modes it just simplifies things quite a bit.
So up to people like speed or not, but with me it's good.
There's a video on YouTube by Daily MTB Rider, and I'll sum it up for you. Brands like Jetson, maker of the Bolt Pro, not to be confused with manufacturers, place orders on e-bikes and then sell them online or in a shop. And the differences are so small because you have the same manufacturer making all these bikes for different brands. So get them at the best price possible. Like mail-ordered brides. I'm not judging. In this video, I'll list 7 of these 14-inch style e-bikes, starting from lowest cost to highest cost. And we'll start with this, the Jetson Bolt Pro. As you can see, it comes in at $599, but really, do not buy it for that price. The lowest you can get it for is $249, as seen here. The remanufactured is the lowest price. The next best thing is Costco. You could get it for $339 in the shop. Sometimes they have coupons and you could get it for as low as $300. These are 15 mile per hour, 15 mile range, 36 volt e-bikes. They have 350 watt motors and they have a true capacity of 216 watt hours. All right, number 2 is going to be a toss-up between the DYU, which comes at $579. You can see that this is a big step up from the Jetson. However, it's mostly the same, 15 miles per hour, 30 to 37 miles per charge with 36 volt and 10 amp hours. However, this 10 amp hours is 4 more amp hours than the Jetson Bolt Pro. So yes, you are getting an improved model, but do not get this version. Number 2 goes to the Ampere. This is a 500 watt 14-inch bike. It is basically a Jetson Bolt Pro. However, in 48 volt variety with 500 watts, and it has a 20 mile per hour max with a 20 mile per hour range, and has a 48 volt by 7.5 amp hours. So that's a true capacity of 360 watt hours. So if you're looking to spend close to $500, or you're looking to upgrade your Jetson Bolt, this is an option. Coming in at number 3, it's gotta be this Angeway 14-inch 48 volt 10 amp hour folding bike. Now this is not really a cousin of the Ampere. There's no shared components that I can tell, but it gives you a higher capacity by 25%. That's a good bit amount. And on top of that, it has a full suspension system. If you can see the shocks in the back and shocks in the front. And another thing is this thing is foldable. Yes, this thing can be folded. I can't say that I would suggest this over the Ampere, and more on that later. So let's go to the number 4 on this list, and that would be this Inurid. So this one looks similar in power to the previous Angeway. However, it's a different style of bike, so I think I should list it here. It has a rear seat, it's foldable, it has a full suspension. However, it shares some components with the Jetson in that I think this arm and the light right here is the same. But other than that, Inurid makes a Jetson Bolt style bike. I didn't include it in this comparison because the DYU, well, the Ampere was significantly better. I mean, it's just a better value. However, this Inurid, being kind of unique, it made the list because of the 48 volts, 10 amp hours, 20 mile range, 20 miles per hour, full suspension, it's folding. And the battery 4810, that is good for 480 watt hours. So the Angeway and this Inurid, they give you significantly more battery capacity. On the number 5, it goes to the 48 15 amp hour type bikes, and it's not going to be this Amazon one. Okay, so this Amazon one comes in at 819. That's too big of a jump from 539 or 535 to that's $300 almost. However, this offers serious capacity, and here is what I found. Goes once again to Inurid. They have the same version of the 10 amp hours in 15 amp hour version, and this one is $601. Rear seat, dual suspension, etc. Even at $601, we're talking about double the price of the Jetson Bolt Pro. However, the Jetson Bolt, obviously you can't get this type of capacity. You can't get this type of long-lasting battery life. And to modify the engine, you know, all that adds up. Moving on to number 6 is another 48 volt, 15 amp hour, true capacity of 720 watts. That's over 3 times the capacity of the Jetson. I just want to get that squared away. That's a ton of juice. Okay, so once again, it is double the price. It is what it is. Can you upgrade the Jetson to go this fast and have this battery capacity? Yes. Will it cost more? No, it'll cost less. However, you have to perform those upgrades, and it might be worth it. Why the Jetson is likely preferred by me later in the video. All right, so this one, BTR power, goes 20 miles per hour, 40 mile range, full suspension, and it is folding. It has a rear seat, which is cool too. Okay, so the arm looks like it came from a Jetson. It has a folding mechanism, and it has an extension mechanism. It has an LCD display, phone holder, and phone charger. So, you know, you get a lot more bells and whistles. However, that price though, you know. Okay, I'm not saying I'm cheap or anything. It's just that I'm Asian. Bruh. Okay, so number 7 is gonna be the big kahunas. And initially, you know, you see items like the Fido L3. This thing is yeah, it's using a Jetson style arms and extension arm, and even the wheels is very Jetson like. However, this is not the pick if you're wanting to save money. This one comes at $9.99. It's quite a bit of money. It's nearly 3 times a Jetson now. That 23 or 20 amp hour battery is insane. You can probably get like 45 miles. All right, so the replacement is this 14-inch VV bike. It has a 20 amp hour battery, 350 watt motor. It goes 20 miles per hour. It has a 60-mile range with pedal assist. They don't state how much it can go without it, but probably easily 30 at the full 20 mile per hour throttle only. This thing has a serious battery. I mean, that battery is almost a full kilowatt hour, 960 watt hours. So that's at least 4 times as big as it's even more than 4 times as big as the Jetson battery. So that was number 7 on the list. The VV is 200 less than the Fido L3. At the end of the day, would I deviate from the Jetson? You know, the Antier is a good value, and I would consider that. Same with the Angeway, but more towards the Antier. And the reason is because once you get the Jetson Bolt, that body is good for 265 pound capacity. And outside of the Antier and the Fido L3, none of these off brands can support that amount of weight, because I'm thinking it's that folding bracket here, this BTR Power. You see that folding bracket. I don't have a lot of trust in that type of system. And do you really have to fold the Jetson? It's less than 4 feet long. You know, I just don't find it all that necessary to have it fully folding, especially if you just remove the seat and then fold down the arm. That transportation is just very fast and it's slim. So at the end of the day, because of the much higher weight capacity, you're getting better bones with the Jetson. And I guess that matters for durability. And the community you have with the Jetson is another factor. There's Facebook groups for DYU and for Jetson. And among there, you can get a lot of help. If you need to do any upgrades, you have a whole community. If you need parts, you can get parts. If you need general help, that community is there for you. While these other brands, you might not be able to get replacement parts. The changes that they get from the manufacturers might be so small that they don't have like excess bodies waiting in some sort of warehouse that they can part out. With the Jetson, if you can't get an excess body, you could just go and offer up and find an extra body, or you get a remanufactured as a spare, and that thing is only $250, and even less if you have a coupon. Look, I'm not saying that the Jetson is the best performer out of the bunch. It's not the fastest or has the most capacity, no. What I'm saying is that the Jetson is pretty darn good as it is. You don't have to spend that extra $150 or even $500 for a mini bike style e-bike. And you can still have a ton of fun. Is it for everyone? Well, yeah, it kind of is. As long as you can get over the clown car looks. Is the Jetson right for older folks? Not that I'm old or anything. However, I do see the appeal of Social Security. And I would say the answer is yes. This bike is small. You don't need a bike rack. You can just toss it in your car. If you break down on the side of the road, well, call an Uber. I'm sure some Uber cars can accept a Jetson Bolt in their trunk. And if you can't afford Uber, well, you can take the bus. Yeah, the bus takes Jetson Bolts. Anyhow, I just wanted to bring up these bikes to satisfy your curiosity.
Today I'm going to be performing an upgrade on this Jetson Bolt Pro. I'll be replacing the internal stock battery with this 36 volt 10 amp hour aftermarket third-party battery. Virtually the same size as factory, yet offers 67% higher capacity and gives you longer run times and less battery sag, which is like a longer lasting honeymoon, which then eventually, but can you trust these batteries? Let's find out. £3 and 9 ounces. 4 pounds and 15 ounces. The factory battery is over a pound lighter than the aftermarket battery, so it means that there's actually less cells in here, or it could mean that the aftermarket battery has a denser material like gold. It can happen. This bike right here has a 36 volt 14 amp hour battery. It's massive. I made a video on that swap and update. It does perform up to expectations. It can be done with a simple screwdriver. However, I'm going to use this power screwdriver just to make things a little bit faster. And before you start the job, you'll need this battery. You'll need this adapter, so Dean's to XT60, and you'll need one more item, which I'll show later in the video. It'll make more sense. When you pry these rubber stoppers, best to take note of which goes where because they're slightly different. When you remove this, take note of the battery charging cable, which is right here. Unplug it right away. The first thing you need to do is remove the power. Mine is tied up right here, so I'm just going to carefully cut this. I'll just have to get another zip tie. Here's the power. It has the XT60. Unplug it. These are the 4 screws you'll have to remove. These brackets are slightly different, as you can see, so just keep track of them. Before I remove this battery, the goal is to get this XT60 connector with this new battery, and that's why we have this adapter. So we'll plug this in right here, and the battery is going to sit in here something like this, right? Well, slight problem. The charging port is right here. So now we have 2 options. All right, let's remove this and I will show you the easiest option. The easiest option is just to have the charger sticking out of this little hole right here and the battery sitting in here. But the problem is that it's not going to reach. That's not that big of a problem. You just get an extension cord. This one is a long extension cord. I got it because I have future videos to do, and you would plug it through here and then plug it right in here. Seat the battery, pull through the cable, neatly roll up excess wiring. You can discard this cable right here because you won't be using it anymore. And now this is your new charging port right here. Put everything back. Screw everything back and you're done. But being the Karen that I am, that's a little bit too easy. I want this charging port to work, so I made this cable right here. This cable is going to route this charger right here, and this is a charging port, and it routes it out to the OEM Jetson charging port. You see? It goes right out to here, and now this charging port is working again. There isn't going to be anything sticking out right here. It looks completely OEM. Yes, this is extra work. What we're going to do is we're going to copy this from the original battery, red and black. And so these pieces from this kit right here, they come already attached in 2 separate pieces. We don't need this one, only this one. So the red is going to be on this left side, black is going to be on the right. All right, I'd like to start with a clean head. And I'm going to strip it. Not a lot, this is probably 3 millimeters. Just a tiny bit. As you can see, 2.5, 3. It's not very much. I'm just gonna twist it so that it doesn't get in the way later. And here's the left side. So it's this one right here. You can see it's holding the sleeve really tight. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. All right, at this point, we're gonna double check left, right, left, right. There you go. You just need to grab it with the pliers and then push it. Now, if you crimped it good, it should be nice and tight. So we'll remove this. We'll remove this part right here because we won't need this extension anymore. Instead, we're gonna flip the battery. Make sure there's no wires that are stuck behind this battery. Just feel it. If there's nothing stuck, you're good. Now the run from here to here is very short. It's kind of too short, but you could just put it right here. And now you have to run this charger. I'm going to run it through the top just so that I don't get any pinching right here like it's been already from factory. So it's quite simple. Just goes in like that. It's plugged in. And then back to the factory spot down here. Now to put the brackets back on. The fit is not perfect, and we'll just force it. You can see a little bit of pinching, but it's all right. This battery has a lot of padding. Double check, make sure all the wires are inside. Now we'll do this bracket. And now we can close it back up. Okay, from here on out, you just put the screws back in. And the moment of truth. There we go, it is charging. This bike is ready to go with an extra 60% capacity, and I don't think that upgrade was too difficult. The cost of the battery, it's something to take note. It's not cheap, and at the same time, where are you going to get an e-bike with this range for this total cost? There just aren't a lot of options. You better be careful, you're going fast. Today I'm going to do a battery upgrade for the Jetson Bolt Pro, and contrary to the looks, this is not a length versus girth debate. This battery has the bigger capacity, stronger 48 volts, faster discharge current, and yes, it really pumps if you can handle it. This is a 48 volt, 8 amp hour battery, and the primary purpose of this upgrade is to increase capacity and speed of your Jetson Bolt Pro, and yes, both at the same time. Perform at your own risk. Your warranty is likely null and void after this point. In theory, this should fit like this, and theories are always accurate. Bruh. I'm hoping that it all works out, but it's just one of these things that's slightly out of my control, like being a father. To remove the rubber cap, I have this small little flathead screwdriver. I will just pry it straight out. The screws are next. I need to unplug the power, but to get to it, I need to remove the zip tie. See if you could unplug this just so that you're working safely. There we go. I'm gonna try to fish this one through. I like how it's zip tied right now. I don't want to make a further mess. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to cut it. Somehow this is going to sit in here somewhere. We'll make it work. With my previous upgrade, I had the charger sticking outside of the bike, which is probably not the best way of doing it. And then I had a longer cable to reach to the power. This time I am going to flip it like how OEM is done. I will need an extension cable for the charger. It's gonna be something like this and plug directly onto the original charging port. The premise is quite easy. This is OEM, this is how it hooks up, and this one to the controller. So I've got the controller part done. The only other missing part is changing this to fit into this, and I did that by buying this connector right here. So that changes this head right here, and I got these JST SM 2-pin 2.5 millimeter connectors. They come like this, and it's actually 2 pieces. Take it apart, and now I've got this piece that hooks onto here. Here are the crimp heads. I'm gonna grab 2 of them. Based on visual inspection, these crimp heads, they're gonna go in like this. This hook is gonna latch right here and stay into place. So the goal is to match this right here. And we're just gonna crimp away, and you don't need much working space right here, just a tiny bit. Okay, and just break it off by hand. I have no other way of doing this. I'm just gonna crimp this thing by pure force. And again, the second side. Yes, it's in there tight. See, I wrapped this head around. The JST one, you're gonna cave it. It caves in the crimp. However, I don't have a proper JST crimp, so I'm just using these pliers. Yeah, it takes a bit of force, but there you go. Time to remove the battery. Let's see how this one fits in there. So right off the bat, it's not gonna fit because of this controller. Let's remove that. Okay, so what I see is that this thing right here might prevent from installing, and this definitely prevents from installing. So I'm gonna remove this one first, and I'm just gonna remove a little bit of this as well. I'm gonna do a dry fit. The reason why I'm doing this dry fit is I want to know exactly where the battery is going to sit, so that when I screw these in, you can see that there's a little bit of a gap right here. You see, when I screw this in, there's a little bit of gap, so I'm going to have to shim something underneath so it just sits right in there and it's not going to flop around. You know what? I'm going to screw this down because this is going to stay in here. I don't know where the space is yet. However, I will figure that out after I screw this in place so it's not so squirrely anymore. Tucking all of this in. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in. And we've got power. And the reason I'm plugging it in so early is just so I can get an idea of how I'm gonna fit this all in. Alright, so what I found is that there is a bit of a gap up here, which I like. So I'm gonna fish the cables down here, and up here I don't want this thing right here to pinch or any wires coming this way to pinch. So in that scenario, I am going to put a spacer right here. Whatever cable management I can get, I will take. Up here, it should be okay because it's going to be pressed up against that corner right there. It can't move forward anymore. But here, it can't really move backwards. I just don't want it to move downwards. And this thing is going to be jammed up against the case. It has nowhere to run. Before we put back everything together, plug in the original power charging cable. This is a tight fit. What I'm seeing here is I believe this charging cable is sort of in the way. The charging port, that is. And I am not going to sacrifice that. Okay. So what happened is that this cable, it got a little bit loose. So I'm going to move this, spin it downwards, just so it's cleaner, like that. Just a bit of cable rerouting. So what I'm doing is I'm slowly but surely moving these cables underneath the battery, just so I can make space. I mean, it's above the battery, but it's underneath the clamp that holds the battery into place. See, that gives me a lot more space now. Okay, now I think everything will close a lot better this time around. Alright, this is not necessarily a problem, but I think it would be a little bit easier if I simply remove this cover, because I see it's getting jammed up in here. Okay, yeah, that's cleaner. But that tiny little modification, just a tiny bit. Yeah, so this bracket, just one side of the controller board, it doesn't really have anywhere to go, so it's not going to be a problem. All right, the moment of truth. Here we go. Charging 54.6 volts. So why did you want to get the upgrade?
I wanted the upgrade because I was deciding between getting a bigger e-bike or staying with my Jetson, and the battery sag that was mentioned in a previous video actually really spoke to me, and I thought that getting an upgraded battery was right in the middle. Gives me more range, less battery sag, but I don't have to pay for a completely new e-bike.
Well, you know that this thing is going to go faster, and you might still get the battery sag because I guess you'll probably throttle it hard. I don't know, give it a try.
We'll give it a try, and if anything, it lasts longer. So.
Wow, look at that. Mama!
You better be careful, you're going fast.
It is faster.
Wow. Have a right to obey versus our new bike.
So yeah, I couldn't fix your brakes all the way. No, it is what it is.
It's significant. I can feel the difference.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
So this is already speed hacked, and now it's running 48 volts with that 8 amp hour battery.
I used to be able to pedal as fast as I can go, hit the throttle, and feel nothing.
Okay.
But now I can paddle as fast as I can go, and when I hit the throttle, there's more.
Oh yeah.
There's more.
All right.
So yeah, there's definitely a difference.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the upgrade, and yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'll be sure to do a pin post on the speed increase of a 48-volt battery. So to recap just a little bit, moving forward, I am going to start using these thinner wires for charging rather than bringing a massive cable to route the power. Thinner cables cost less and occupy less space. Overall, it's a more efficient setup, and with regards to a 48-volt battery, it will fit in the box. It will work with the stock controller and stock motor. There is a bit of work to do, and it's probably worth it. Are you looking for more range for your Jetson Bolt Pro? Well, this video's for you. I'm going to be adding the second battery, and it's going to run in parallel. What this means is that they're going to run side by side, they're going to draw, and they're going to deplete at the same time. This can get you double, triple, or quadruple the current range you have right now. It's endless. However, because this video involves batteries, I want to make a disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only. You might find that the video content is completely worthless. Bruh. However, the fact that I published this video, there's a good chance that it's working. All right, here's the goal, is to have a Y connection, 2 into 1. And to bridge that Y connection, I have a balancer right here. Here's a closer look. There's 2 females and a male, so you can't get it wrong. Stepping back for a second, before I started this project, I had to check the voltage of the battery and then connect it to the balancer and then check it 2 days later. I had to make sure that there wasn't a phantom draw, and indeed there was not a phantom draw. Here's the parts list. It's an extra battery. It's XT60 connector. Here is the balancer, and this balancer is for whatever battery that you're running. It has to be 2 of the same. So if you're running 36 volt like this bike has, then you have to buy a 36 volt battery to match. If you're running 48 volt bike, then you run a 48 battery to match. And some extension cables. These are just male and female on each end, so they just extend the cable. You'll need something to house the battery, so I have this bag right here. So the battery is going to sit inside like this. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to mount the battery on the top of the rail and with this neck right here, so I have the shortest run possible. So now that I've done the prep work, we're going to remove this panel and start wiring. You'll have to remove these rubber stoppers. Take note of where they belong because they will have to return in that same area. This is a small flat Phillips. Now that the rubber covers are off, Phillips screwdriver. When you remove this, just be careful of the charging cable. You want to remove this right away so that you don't damage this cable. Let's do an overview of what's going to happen. We're going to remove this cable. This is the power cable. You can see it's connected to this battery. We're going to put some sort of extension. So this battery is right here now, okay? And then we're going to plug it into the balancer. It doesn't matter, there's 2 female ports here, and you just plug it inside. Here's an adapter. All right. And yeah, the males, you see the males, they just won't go into each other, so you can't make that mistake. Here's the female. And then another extender. and then finally it's going to go back into the controller. So basically we've created a Y right here, and the way that the Y works is that the two batteries are right here and it goes back to the controller. I hope that makes sense. So the high level overview almost works out. There are some things that I can make a little bit more efficient if I was to flip the battery around and then have the power right here. I might not need this extra cable. However, I want the cable to sit in the bag, and this is only around 3.5 inches. It's not going to reach here around 6 or 7 inches. And this extra battery cable right here, it's not going to quite reach. This is a 1-foot cable, and I happen to have an 18-inch cable. This is a little bit longer and it's a little bit thicker, so it can easily handle the length. So I'm going to swap out this one right here. This one goes to the controller. All right, so I hope I haven't lost you yet. Okay, so we're still doing the Y. Okay, this is the batteries. The battery lines, they're all situated. They're all going to stay the same. Okay, I hope I'm not losing you yet. And here is the line. It goes from male to female on the controller. Here you go. And it's extra long, so I don't have to worry about the length later on. So that's it. You see, I haven't had to cut anything or unscrew anything except for the cap. And now I'm just fishing the wire through. It's a lot of wires that's going to be going out of this port. It's going to be that way either way. Here is the battery cover. Plug in the charging cable again. Put it back on. It's a lot of cable right here, but it's not a problem because there's ample space. All right, so we have a little bit of a mess here. However, I am going to do some housekeeping, and it's quite simple. What I'm going to do is just tuck it neatly. So unplug it. I can unplug all of this really because there's only one way they could plug back in. Okay, so I'm going to tuck this under. Tuck this one under. As you can see, they're all neat now. If you have shrink wrap, it would be even neater. I don't have any, so. All right. Whoa. That wasn't supposed to happen. All right, let's just pretend for a second that I am human, that I do make mistakes. Just want to note that most Asians, they're AI generated. True story. All right, will it even go? Let's see. Ah. Whoa. Oh, oh. All right, so let's go ride it for a bit and then we'll talk about the quirks. Resetting the trip history. Done. So just to be clear, the speed that I'm going at is slightly high because this is a speed hacked Jetson Bolt Pro. Aside from that, there is something that is slightly different that I noticed not too long after the trip. It's that battery sag. It's no longer there. The power feels much more consistent. I am over 2 miles in. So far, so good. Unfortunately, it is getting dark.
I am starting to lose time. I won't be able to complete the test on time. And at night, my vision is pretty much as good as a bat. However, I'm not going to leave the video without showing you some proof that this works and it works well. And I'll show you that a little bit later in the video.
Alright, so there's one thing that concerned me. And let me show you. Is the balancer going to get hot? Let's pull it out. And as you can feel it right here. Well, you can't feel it, but I can feel it. And it is cool to the touch. So let's keep going. We're at 4 miles already. Alright, so that is it. We've got 2 batteries going. 3610, 36.6, 16 amp hours.
Alright, so here is the battery from the Jetson Bolt Pro. And I measured the voltage. It comes in at 40.5 volts. Here's the aftermarket one. And when I measured it, it came in at 40.4. So that is in 1/10 of a volt compared to the OEM. It is balancing as intended.
Today I'm going to talk about refurbished Jetson Bolt Pros. When you go to writejetson.com and sort by best selling, you get remanufactured Jetson Bolt Pro as the top seller. I'm calling it refurbished because on the Jetson warranty page, it is referred to as refurbished. So remanufactured, refurbished, it means the same thing to them. So what is the difference between new and refurbished? And the most glaring one is price. The refurbished is $250 compared to writejetson.com's $600 compared to costco.com's $380. However, when you're looking at Costco in-store prices, it can range from $350 to as low as $270. In case you don't know, there are a lot of perks when buying at Costco. You get that infinite return policy, you get the full 1-year warranty, and of course you can buy the Jetson Bolt Pro with a slice of pizza. When you're buying a refurbished model like this one right here, you get a 90-day warranty. And is that enough? Well, maybe. Because when you get a Jetson Bolt Pro, you're gonna ride it, and you're likely gonna ride it hard. Whether you buy it new or used, the discovery process probably isn't going to take long. And guess what? If you get it damaged by an accident or by water, Jetson isn't going to cover you. On that note of water, the Jetson is highly weather resistant. I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just saying. That said, when you're buying a refurbished Jetson Bolt Pro, you have the option of buying an additional warranty. And on the topic of warranty, I'll cover that more a little bit later in the video. So what exactly is a refurbished Jetson Bolt Pro? Well, it could be as simple as a returned item. It could be an item that is slightly used. It can be an item that has gone through the warranty process. It likely has new tires, probably new rotors, new brake pads. I'm sure they don't want to go through a lawsuit. And these pedals look new as well. However, there are other things that are not new, and I would say this cover is not new. This frame is not new. I did not do that, at least. And if you look right here, this thing has been crashed before. By the way, I'm not saying that all refurbished items will end up like this. My niece's one looks brand new. Refurbished Jetson Bolt Pros are best sellers, and that also means that there are a lot of new items that are getting returned. Getting a new Jetson Bolt Pro doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be flawed either. Some people just don't like the little Jetsons. That also means that as a refurbished buyer, your chances of getting something like new is very high. On the flip side, someone could have returned this after 30 days of use or longer, and that can mean a lot of usage. 30 days can be a lot of aging in Jetson years. You don't know what you're getting in this package. It's kind of like dating someone in their 40s. Not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that there's a bit of unknown. This bike here was bought September 2022. If you look closely, you can see that it was manufactured December 2021. So I'm guessing that this is a warranty claimed item. And that might explain why I have to file a warranty claim on this item. It's imperfect. It's a small thing, and I told Jetson I could fix it myself if they send me the part. But you see that movement? The frame is broken right here. It's an easy fix, but Jetson is not allowing me to do it myself, so I have to ship it back to them. The problem is that I do not have the box. That's the first thing I threw away. However, there is a solution. So I had to go through some back and forth with Jetson to find this out. There is this thing called a courtesy hold. They're willing to send you a unit before you send it back. That's kind of like having a second wife on reserve.
Wow.
Sounds like a nifty deal, so I took it. You will have to put down a deposit of $150 plus tax. Not sure why there's tax on the deposit. And when you send the broken item back to them, they'll refund you that $150, $160. So here it is. I gotta be careful not to destroy all of the packaging material because it has to go back. All right, all of this is tied together in one piece, so I will have to destroy some of the packaging. Let's take this out. At first glance, brand new tires. It's a little bit deflated. Let's take a look at the body. Wow, that looks pretty good. Yes, it is not broken like the one. Oh, what is this? Is this a crack or is it a scratch? It is a crack. Well, this did not go as I planned. This thing does look new. However, the box was really jacked up, and I'll have to return the refurbished replacement because of the cracked frame. However, I do think that it's still a good deal if you're willing to put up with these troubles. I have another Jetson bike over there. Aside from the crack, which I attribute to likely shipping and handling issues, this bike does look very new. If you're in the market for a Jetson Bolt Pro and you really know what you're doing, you know how to service these things on your own, getting a refurbished item probably isn't a bad deal. You don't have a Costco nearby, or the Costco sells it at a little bit higher price than you're willing to pay, definitely look towards the refurbished model. It is a bummer that I will have to return this again. I can still recommend it for folks that are looking to upgrade their bike right away, which would null and void the Costco warranty anyhow, or folks that are really in the know with how to work with these bikes. You can still get a good deal with the refurbished model. So you're looking to become a serious commuter, and maybe the Jetson Bolt Pro's battery is not quite cutting it. This battery right here gives you, today I'm going to attempt to upgrade the battery for the Jetson Bolt Pro from the stock 216 watt hour to this monster 504 watt hour battery. Yes, that is over twice the capacity. The problem is that this thing might not actually fit. I could be in over my head with this upgrade. It's like trying to wear a pair of jeans that I bought 2 years ago. Probably won't fit. You have to get some connectors. Dean's to XT60. This is a XT60 extension cable. You should get 12 gauge because this wire is 12 gauge as well.
The battery was purchased on eBay, other parts on Amazon, parts list in the description.
All right, so everything is unscrewed now. Well, not everything. There we go. Bracket comes out. Here's the size comparison. It's bigger. It's not ginormous, but it's bigger. This thing is not gonna fit exactly like this. So these tabs need to be broken off. I'm just gonna cut them off cleanly, and this has to be unscrewed, possibly relocated. We'll figure it out as we go. This probably voids your warranty, so proceed with caution. All right, let's remove this. Hopefully there's no surprises, nothing falls out. Oh, it's still held up over here. So to keep this tidy, I have a rubber band. And I'll just place it over here. All right, so we're gonna compare both shells, and you can see that this one on the left shell, there is no obstruction. The one on the right shell, there's this thing, this, and this. So there's these 3 tabs that we'll have to remove. All right, now I'm just gonna take out the rest of this so that the bike is easier to work with. Dry fit. This thing might fit. Can I close it though? Yeah, we'll see soon enough. Once I trim the other side, then I'm gonna play with this. All right, it's time to get trimming. Okay, the basic ones. Got this Dremel. It has this flat blade. Hopefully it's enough. All right, so it doesn't fit right away. We'll just keep this in mind. Let's remove this one as well. Okay, so now this is the left one. I'm gonna try to fit it on the left first. The reason I have it this way is so that I could bring out the charging cable right here. It's hitting the edge on this side. The edge on this side. So it looks like I'll have to cut a notch. So this notch that I'm gonna cut, I'm just gonna draw a line. I'm just gonna scrape it so I can see where I have to cut and get an idea. So if you see, this thing has to go and this piece has to go. So yeah, let's see if it works. But before I do that, I'm just gonna remove this piece. And the reason for that is that mine is already broken right here. So I'm gonna remove this piece and this piece just to see if it fits. Wow, this thing almost fits. So we're gonna see if we can just trim this guy and maybe get it fitting. All right, so it turns out that I do have to cut it, and I'm just gonna mark it once again here and here. But as you can see that this side is already sitting against the mount. And once it sits against the mount, because this is 2.8 inches, it will fit. So we're doing this side first. Well, it's not the best fit, but yeah, I think it works. Now, will I have to cut this side? Probably. What you can see is that now one side fits and the other side is getting close. However, I do have to cut again. It needs to get cut right about here. So I'm gonna press it up all the way against that hinge, and then I'm gonna mark it up one more time. And as you see is this mark, disregard this one. You notice how this thing flew right past? That's why I always keep my hand behind the motion of the blade, because cutting into yourself probably hurts like hell. Look at this. We are good all the way around. It did require some notching. So at this point, I am happy with how this is turning out, and I'm going to make it a little bit prettier by putting some cloth tape. This blue battery sticking out, not gonna cut it. All right, so now I'm just gonna wrap this up because it's no longer being used. Oh, by the way, that extra slot that I cut off for the controller board, It turns out you don't have to cut it. It was right here. The battery sits just below it. It's so close. Oh well. Time to return the controller board where it belongs. I'll just leave it a little loose right now just to see how the battery fits in here. And I'm gonna lean the bike back because I want the battery to fall forward rather than out like this. The fit is tighter than I expected, but that's probably because not that I would make any mistakes. There we go. Yeah, so I am going to route this over the top because this is the pedal assist cable. I'm going to have to cut this off as well because this wire is stuck there. So this pedal assist cable, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay as many cables flat as possible on the top. So this fit is tighter than I expect. I'm going to try to lay some. There's barely any room, but it's not going to pinch because the weight is on the bottom. So I'm just going to slide these through. I still got the power to do, so let's do the power before I forget. So once again, this Dean's male to, I believe this was a female XT60. I don't even know if it's a male or a female. It has properties of a female and a male, like kids these days.
Wow.
Okay. And here's the power. Oh, that didn't sound good. Oh, whoa. Scary sound. Okay, so what I noticed is that this fit is not that great. Okay, there we go. Shove everything under here. Sorry calling this being a foot-long cable, but it's a lot longer. Yeah, get the foot-long cable. You don't need longer than this. Okay, now that I know that this thing is gonna work, I'm just gonna tighten this up. And this pedal assist cable is kind of a problem, but we'll see in a second. So if I put this down here, it's gonna pinch. But if you look at the very corner, there's actually a tiny little gap. So I'm gonna put it in that little gap. There. Okay, so that is about as flat as I can get it. Yeah, I'm just gonna use a little bit of tape just so it doesn't run all over. So it was pinching on these tiny little wires, and that is the last thing you want to do. Make sure it's down there. So back here, it's pedal assist, power cable, charging cable. You just have to do it in that orientation, otherwise stuff is just not gonna fit. Okay, so now you can feel that everything is tight, like in your 20s. So now it's missing a screw here, and that will decrease the rigidity. I wish I had a zip tie on me. I don't, so I'm just gonna use this garden tie. Yeah, it's sort of ghetto, but it'll do the job for now. If you want, you can glue this shut. I'm just gonna close it and just remind my son that use this as a charger. And by the way, the normal Jetson charger works with this. Just keep in mind that now you have a 14 amp hour battery. It's going to take a lot longer to charge. I'm not sure if it's faster, but it does feel more peppy. Battery anxiety of a long haul is hopefully a thing of the past. Another thing that I've noticed right away is that usually after just a small little haul, you can feel that you'll get battery sag, and this isn't an issue. Big battery, oh yeah. All right, let's talk about the alternatives. The most obvious is the plug and play 36 volt 10 amp hour battery. That one is simply plug and play. There's nothing to cut, nothing to fiddle with. It's quite easy. 10 amp hours is a 67% increase over the stock 6 amp hour battery. Another alternative is a 48 volt 8 amp hour battery. This will give you even more capacity. It's a direct fit and it happens to cost less than the 36 volt 10 amp hours. And yes, it will be on an upcoming video. The biggest downside of this upgrade was the cost. Half of a Jetson, pretty much. It was 160, give or take. It's a lot of money. However, at the same time, it's not a lot of money that you have to spend all at once. And if you were trying to find a Jetson or Jetson-like bike with this type of capacity, you probably end up spending a lot more and you don't have the luxury of a spare battery. Although you do have to get your hands dirty, I don't find the look all that unattractive. You can ride for miles and it feels like a full battery all day long. This mod is for a Speed Hacks and Jetson Bolt Pro and it did not increase the speed. However, it is for my son. I'm okay with him only going 16 miles an hour and he wanted the most range possible, so there it is.
Just buy it?
No. I'm just making a video. Yeah, I got it a long time ago. The battery properties are so different. It takes a lot longer to deplete this 36 volts, so you maintain that higher voltage and you won't be getting that sag like a 75-year-old grandmother. If your Jetson Bolt Pro is feeling a little dated, a little bit sluggish, definitely try a battery upgrade. It'll give it a new spark on life. Your adventures will last a lot longer. You'll have more fun. You don't have to stand in line for $5.30 discounted gas. So the question today is, should you take your Jetson Bolt Pro off-roading? Well, we are going to find out. Oh, bad idea. If you're on a packed dirt road like this, you might be able to get by. But what if you're going across grass? Can you get through it? So, today I am going to take my Jetson Bolt Pro off-roading, and it's probably going to be a bad idea. Is this bike good for some off-roading or is it a pavement princess? Now, is this going to impress like an 80s hairdo or is this going to disappoint like Saturday night after one too many drinks? Either way, we'll find out, and as expected, works great on pavement. Except for these bumpy roads, yeah, they could shake a bit because there is no suspension. Other than that, it works well, and that is to be expected. It's an e-bike. It has to work on pavement. Otherwise, it'd be as useful as my wife's cooking. On grass, this thing is a totally different bike. I'm going to attempt to ride it and I'll let you know how it feels. Should you attempt to take your Jetson out off-roading? Let's find out. Yeah, it can get a little bit squirrely in the back. The back kind of twists out on you. And yeah, you can't predict going straight. That's really hard to do as is. Oh yeah. Oh, you don't want to take this off-road on the grass. The bumps, they're just too much for this. So if you have a small short patch, that would be acceptable. Taking it on these longer patches, I would not recommend it. It is tough just to move around here, and you can't go really fast. I'm at full throttle, and as you can see, I don't seem to be going very fast. I'm barely moving because of all these ups and downs. It's just really holding me back. I am trying to go straight, but these little hills and dips, they're just maneuvering me out of the way. So when it comes to grass, I would say best to avoid it. These tires, they're made for the city roads, and grass is a no-go. All right, now it's time to ride down this much more difficult terrain, this dirt road. Let's go. Oh crap, oh shoot. There's sand. So yeah, there's sand. Yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea. This sand down here makes it a lot harder to go. So let's go a little bit further. All right, yeah, you can lose your footing, definitely. This dirt road has a mixture of sand, and that sand makes it awfully hard to control yourself. Oh my, okay. Yeah, so I would not recommend sand. Well, aside from that, it's, you know, dirt road, you're okay, but I did not expect sand here. And the sand is the main problem. So if you don't have sand, it should be not a problem. Dirt, grass is not good. So let's carry on. So it turns out that testing was a bit difficult for the challenge impaired, and if you couldn't tell, yes, I was uncomfortable out there. If I was to rank them from toughest to easiest, I would say grass was the toughest. It was really hard to control in that type of surface. The bumps, the hills, it was totally unpredictable. When it comes to dirt and sand, okay, sand was basically impossible. Dirt, if I'm on a fairly flat surface, even with a mixture of sand, I was okay. I wouldn't go to a path that I didn't know about, and this one was an unknown by the train tracks. I mean, who goes there? It was an experiment, and sometimes experiments fail. I live in the city. It's really hard to come by these types of terrain, well, except for the grass. We still have grass around here, although it is mostly synthetic now. And no, the Jetson Bolt Pro doesn't excel especially well when it comes to off-roading. Those tires are too slick, and they are too physically small and not quite wide enough. So you're walking across Costco, and this little e-bike draws your attention. It is the Jetson Bolt Pro, and for some reason you're drawn to it like every other item in Costco. And is this the right electric bike for you? From my point of view, this bike is extremely fun and relatively inexpensive. You also get Costco's amazing return service if you can bear the line. In this video, I'll help you understand what you're getting with the Jetson Bolt Pro. Let's start off with why this e-bike is totally unique, and that's the form factor. It's like a cuddly little pet Asian. Wow. Easily fits in the back. Or the side. And if you're desperate enough, even the front seat. Good luck doing this with a normal bike. The Jetson Bolt Pro is distinctly smaller than conventional fat tire e-bikes. With 14-inch pneumatic tires, it feels smooth on flat surfaces, and the ride is great for a small, nimble e-bike. I'll try this. Whoa. Probably not the best idea to have a middle-aged man try to do these obstacle course, but I did it. Another way to think of it is like a two-wheeled go-kart. It's very nice. It comes with a 36-volt, 350-watt motor. It's got some pep for sure. However, this may not be enough for some larger adults. More on that later. This bike has pedal assist, so when it's powered on, the faster you turn it, the more power it gives you. Steep hills shouldn't be a problem. Well, but if they are, just use the throttle. The Jetson Bolt Pro can go 15 miles per hour and has a 15-mile range. These specs are heavily dependent on how much you weigh. For instance, I get roughly around 14 miles of range. However, my daughter, who weighs half as much, she can easily get more than 20 miles with some pedal assist. With a bike this size, you probably don't want to blow past 15 miles per hour anyhow. And riding for multiple hours, I'll probably need a nap by then. So now you've bought or considered the bike, the thought of assembly scares you. It's gonna come like this. It's gonna include a wrench and an Allen key. You probably want some more, like your own pliers, a larger Allen key, or a entire set and screwdriver. So stand the bike up, get the kickstand going. Now we'll pull up the arm, tighten it, lock it into place. This arm needs some adjustment, and if it's not open, just pry it open, adjust it, there you go, and tighten it back up again. This is where you might need a screwdriver. You'll have a bell, mine is broken, and a reflector. You want to screw it into place first, like so. Tighten, twist into place. The pedals should be clearly labeled right and left. Hand tighten the right one in. There is a provided wrench, use it. Doesn't have to be super tight, it'll tighten by itself. Same with the left side. Seriously, we're almost done already. Straighten out the fender and then tighten it. We're gonna open this lever and you're gonna insert this pole into the female opening. Something that's completely foreign to us married folks. Adjust to your liking and tighten up the clamp. You may have noticed this block, and that's just for safety. I'm not a fan of how this latch is designed, and you can see how I made that with this video up here or here somewhere. So how do you use it? Well, you turn it on right here and it'll show you the power bar right here. There's 4 increments, 25% each. I'm down 1, so that means that I've used at least 25% of the battery. This is a twist throttle. Once you're up to speed, you can triple click this to cruise control. You can hold this down for 8 seconds and the light will turn on. Even though this bike is less than 4 foot wide, it is a little bit heavy, coming in at 41 pounds. It does feel extremely tough and can support up to 265 pounds. Overall, I'm quite pleased with this bike. There's a bit of charm to it. It's small, it's inexpensive, and it takes you on grand adventures. My goodness, have you seen gas prices? That line though, just to pay for this discounted price. I think I'd rather charge and pay a whopping 10 cents in electricity. Oh, by the way, this is not the original seat. This is not the original pedal. This bike has been modified, and in a future video, I'll show you all of my accessories and modifications and what I plan to do. So this is the Jetson Bolt Pro from Costco, and there is nothing quite like this. I've been playing with e-bikes since the lead acid battery days. Yes, lead acid batteries. And even if I ever get a bigger, stronger, faster e-bike, I think the Jetson will always remain because it's so fun, small, and inexpensive. Oh shoot! This one may not look like it, but it is the Jetson Bolt Pro, the original e-bike from Costco, and this is the Jetson Haze, the successor to the Jetson Bolt Pro. So what's the appeal of these Jetsons anyhow? Well, they are small, they are affordable, they're fun, and they're from Costco. You're gonna end up spending several $100s anyhow. For once, just think about yourself. These are commuter e-bikes, they are camping e-bikes, they are e-bikes made for extremely cheap Asians. In this video, we're going to compare the two to see which is the right one for you. Let's do a quick rundown of these electric bikes. 160mm rotors and mechanical brakes, integrated front lights, similar rubber grips,
They both have fenders, just a little bit different. Jetson Haze has a rear light and it's a brake light. Both have similar kickstands and the motor. Both are 350 watt hub motors, yet they are quite different. We'll get back to that a little bit later. It's a decent motor and it gets you around and might even be considered fast because of the small frame. Okay, let's talk about the battery. The Jetson Haze has a 48 volt 7.5 amp hour battery. The Bolt Pro has a 36 volt 6 amp hour battery. The total capacity is a bit different. Due to the voltage, since true capacity is measured in watt hours, you might be thinking 1.5 amp hour difference. Well, the Bolt Pro has 216 watt hours, where the Jetson Haze has 360 watt hours. We're talking about a 67% difference. And the reason I calculate so fast is because I'm Asian, and if I didn't learn math, I'd be in foster care. Wow. All right, so this doesn't necessarily mean more range because there's other factors, and I'll cover that a little bit later. Speed. Let's talk about the speed of the 350 watt motor. The Jetson Haze advertises 15 miles an hour. The Bolt Pro advertises 15 miles per hour. And I was getting 14 and 13 respectively. The top speed is similar, but there are some differences. The Haze has a 48 volt battery, and feeding that controller the higher voltage means that it will produce higher wattage despite having the same motor. It will be less prone to weight drag issues, and if you're heavy, the Haze is much more responsive. There is a massive difference in climbing abilities. Here's the torque of the Jetson Haze. Oh shoot, what the hell? Man, my wife better not see that. On the 15% grade hill test, the Haze needed pedal assist, but it was minimal effort. While the Bolt Pro, you felt like you were purely pedaling at that point. The motor just had very little impact on that hill. Next up, comfort. The Jetson Bolt Pro is a small e-bike. It is short, it has small wheels. The seats are okay, not great. And it has a hard front and rear tail. In my opinion, neither are designed for very long rides, so they can get a bit uncomfortable. However, the Haze is clearly next level. The shock in the rear is surprisingly comfortable, and that's possibly why there's a hit to the range, because soaking up all these ground imperfections, you're going to ever so slightly slow down your momentum. It's a minor and notable trade-off. Neither can be adjusted much in height. The Jetson Haze is definitely for a bit taller folks. Look at the handlebars. It's just not that much, but it's there. Folding ability. Both have folding handlebars, and in my opinion, this has the biggest impact on the folding mechanism of these e-bikes. Secondly, it's probably the pedals. It can seem inconsequential, but more often than not, I'll fold the pedals and the handlebar, and that's it. There's no need to go any further. It's certainly nice that the Haze can fold in half. You just have to keep in mind that it becomes a fairly large square shape. The Jetson Bolt Pro doesn't come with folding pedals, so you have to get that as an aftermarket option. It's not expensive, around $20, $30. It's nice that the Jetson Haze can fold in half, but realistically, when compared to the Jetson Bolt Pro, it's somewhat a non-factor. Having a shorter solid frame has its advantage. You don't have to worry about a hinge breaking. And the advantage of the Haze is that because of the folding mechanism, the battery is neatly tucked away and can be removed for long-term storage during the winter, anti-theft measure, or swapped for double the range. And you know what? Jetson sells these batteries at extremely affordable prices. Next up, the informational panel. Both show power levels, and that's the only metric you really need to know. It'd be nice if they had a speedometer and odometer, however, that's hardly a deal breaker. These are not terribly fast e-bikes, so at the fastest, you're going to be at the level of a conventional bike, and it's probably not a good idea to show that the Jetson is going below advertised speed. Sure, if you're going much faster, then you want to know because you don't want to break any speed limits. That's not the case here. Let's talk about security. The Jetson Haze comes with a rotor lock, and it was thoughtful that they consider something like that. However, that lock kind of scrubs on the rotors if you're not positioning it right, and if you have it locked, somebody could just pick it up and walk away with it. I think it would have been better if they considered an alarm instead, because think about it, if somebody like some guy steals your wife, you might not know about it, right? But if that guy finds out that your wife can talk for 15 hours straight, bruh, might not steal it. Having your ears blasted is a good deterrent. Next up, 14 versus 16-inch tires. Now, I really couldn't tell much, but you know, there is a 2-inch difference. Not gonna lie, look at the wheels on the Jetson Haze compared to the Bolt. This one looks a million times better. The Jetson Haze is slightly taller, but at the same time, it's also a little bit longer, so you definitely feel it. But if it were purely the wheel, I can't really say. And build quality. Well, these e-bikes, they don't offer the best build quality. I mean, the Jetson Haze and the Bolt Pro, they are similar in that regard. There's nothing that is like that really strikes out that it's the top-notch build quality or whatnot. I mean, I've had some stuff break on probably both of them. It is what it is. It's decent, but support. Well, they have the same support, which is the email system on ridejetson.com, which is the phone system on ridejetson.com that they don't pick up. Or your last option is to return it at Costco, because Costco is gracious like that. You pay membership fees, that's what you get. When you get one of these e-bikes, you're probably going to learn about how to fix bikes, because that's just what you do. You're gonna have to fix it or modify or maintain it at some point. And there's not a lot to do other than, I mean, because it's a basic bike with a single gear, it doesn't have a derailleur. So it's quite simple in that regard. You might have to lube up your chain, or you might have to loosen your chain. But other than that, there's not a lot of maintenance that has to be done. Your brakes, they're disc brakes, they're not caliper brakes, so they work pretty good. And aside from that, so you'll have to learn those little things, and if you have issues long term, you can return it at Costco. Modifications. Well, the Jetson Haze, I still haven't figured out how to modify it. I mean, you can add a front bag, but at the same time, you're going to cover your handlebars, and the handlebars are, like I said, it's one of the most important folding aspects of the e-bike, because once you have the handlebars down, it fits in all sorts of places. Look at the Jetson Haze. It has these mounting points right here with no actual accessories to mount. While the Jetson Bolt Pro, well, it has a conventional bike mount, and so you could do a rear rack and mount stuff. So this is where the Jetson Haze can run into some trouble with the rear accessories, is because of the shock system. It's going to pivot right here. You can see the seat system already has a problem, because you know, it could only go down so far, or else it's going to hit this shock. So by the same token, if you have a rear rack here, it can hit this part right here. So it has to be small and short. Where I went to go look for accessories is from maybe the Fido or maybe the Angway, but I just haven't found anything at this moment. And lastly is the price. The Jetson Haze goes for $599. The Jetson Bolt Pro, if you can find it, is usually $350 to $300. But if you get it on sale, okay, so the Jetson Haze, you can get it for $499 once it's on sale, and it goes on sale probably maybe twice a year, 3 times a year at most. So when you get it during those times, $499 compared to $349 isn't a bad deal. You're getting 48 volts, and it's going to be much more, it's a beefier ride, and it's more stable. It has more power. Granted, it doesn't have much more top speed. Look, with the $300 difference, yeah, the Jetson Haze can feel a bit steep, but with the $150 difference, it's hard to deny. The price difference, it is substantial. And the Jetson Haze, personally, it's not my first choice, just because of the lack of the accessories I can do right now. Even though I have a Jetson Haze, but I have a few other Jetson Bolt Pros, and because they have the rear rack system, I can load stuff if I'm going to run an errand. I can bring a small child with me. I could bring a backpack comfortably on there and just strap it down. I have the pannier, air pannier system. It works flawlessly as well. The center frame, are you really going to mount a battery here? Well, you can mount it here, of course, because this is just a one piece. This one, you mount something here and then you can no longer fold, right? You want the folding mechanism, sort of, but if you're willing to go without it, sure, you can mount something here, just drill some holes and mount a plate on top. If you don't want to tinker, the Jetson Haze is the one for you. It is a bona fide successor to the Jetson Bolt Pro. It has that battery that's more powerful. It has a smoother ride, and you can get a spare battery for even less than you can with the Jetson Bolt Pro. On the flip side, if you do want to tinker or you just don't want to spend that much, then the Jetson Bolt Pro is for you. And down the line, you can upgrade the Jetson Bolt Pro in many ways. It is one of those e-bikes that just has so many modifications and you can end up overspending on your upgrades. So just keep that in mind. This is the Jetson Haze and it has intermittent electrical problems. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. Let's get the fully charged battery. Let's load it in. Okay, let's get it started. Let's just hope it turns on. All right, so it turns on. All right, let's see. Oh, it turned off. All right, so that's a problem. Someone tried to trick it to go back on again just by resetting it. And there it is, it's back on. And let's see if it moves. Yeah. All right. Okay, all looks good right now. But let's see what happens when it takes some shock, okay? It tends to turn off. Whoa. Oh, so far so good. Alright, so I'm going to take it apart at the controller. I'm going to see what is loose, because I have a feeling that something is loose. Alright. Let's see what we could do. Okay, let's just put it on top of this. All right. Look at how much is going on here, and based on this, I'm already thinking that it might not be controller. The controller itself has weather sealing all around it, these tubes, even in the back of these tubes, there's like silicone to prevent water ingress. A bunch here to prevent water ingress. But I am just gonna test out each one really quick. So first thing, I need to have the power going, and I'm just gonna put this on. And then I'm gonna see what is loose and what not. Here we go. There we go. And this thing is on already, the power. You see that? Okay. So the power is going, and it looks like there's no issues right now. But I know there is an issue, and it has to do with vibration. So I'm first just going to wobble all of these cables, connections. I don't know which one is the throttle. If I had to guess, it's not this, because the cable is thicker than this. And this is a charging cord, and so maybe this is the throttle right here. So I wobble it, and then there's not much you can wobble because it's sealed so well. I mean, all of these are sealed so well. I think I might just give up right here and look inside the throttle itself. Okay, so this looks good. And I'm not gonna put everything back yet, just because maybe there is something going on here. So if you follow the line of the throttle, this is it right here. You could undo this. Yeah, I'll just undo this a little bit. And first thing I'm going to check, is this connection good? So this connection's good. If I unplug it, everything. Wow, this connection is kind of loose. Actually, it's really tight though. Oh. Okay. Ooh, okay, so if I unplug it, this light blinks. This is a lot of points. So the throttle cable itself has a lot of wires. So if you're going to change the throttle, it's just going to be from here to here. You don't have to run this entire cable all the way down there. Okay. So I just got a regular screwdriver. The head is kind of small. And I'm going to turn it off because I don't want electric running until I know what's behind there. So let's see what fits here. Ooh. On the first try I got it right. The reason why I'm taking out this brake thing is just so that I can move it out of the way. See that? It reveals this little one. I didn't know why I wrapped this thing up. Now I gotta take it back out so I can unplug the throttle just to have a look at it. Alright, so I got the throttle out. I don't even know if this is the issue, but let's just see. This wire doesn't look so good, but it's not broken. It just looks like it's about to break off. Other than that, everything's glued here.
I was looking for some signs of corrosion, damage, water ingress. There is a board back here, and this board powers the LCD display or the LED display, and there just wasn't anything problematic with it. Everything was nice and clean, so the throttle itself, it looks good.
So this is starting to become a bit of a disaster. Okay, so if you have a throttle issue, this is what happens when your power's on and your throttle gets loose. You should get some blinky lights. It's like a diagnostics that tells you that you have a problem with your throttle. Since I'm done looking at the throttle, I could just turn this back up because that wasn't it. And now I'm going to look at the connection of the throttle cable. And it's got to be one of these two, because when I opened up the throttle, there was like 5 pins. Okay. So it is highly unlikely that this is the culprit, but let's see. Okay, so it's blinking all over the place. Just want to feel this. Okay. Honestly, they all feel really good. So that's it for this. So I got vinegar, and this one is just clean. So I'm cleaning the terminals, and I have an idea of why this thing is failing. But either way, I want to clean the terminals up. Okay, so I was writing earlier, and I figured something out. Every time I hit a bump, I would lose power. So to replicate that, I have a feeling that maybe the battery is jiggling. Theoretically, maybe I could shut it off just by some force. And I'm going to turn on the light so you can see when it shuts off, okay?
Ah, there we go. Okay, so that turned it off, and so there's a couple things that's going on here. I believe it's just that this terminal is just not on super tight. There's a couple things I'm going to do right now. Let's turn off the bike. Alright, so let's have a look at this. Alright, so let's take a look at the battery. Here's an issue with it. Okay, this is locked and it can still move, and this is about a 1/16 of an inch that it can move. It's too much play for my liking. I mean, 1/16 of an inch is nothing. It's still gonna be in here, but the fact that this thing can move around, I have a problem with that. You know, I would like to move it a little bit, but you know, there's only so much you can do. It already has this lock right here. So this pin, that means that it can't really go anywhere. And at the same time, I need to get it to stop moving. I got this little sticky mat, just a little piece of rubber. So what I'm going to do is just put this here so that it stops wobbling around. And in theory, once I put it back in, it's a very slim slot, but you see, it's really tight. You see that now? It doesn't jump at all. Okay, it might be tougher to get the battery out, probably, but now it's very snug. And this is at the top, so you don't have to worry about covering anything on the bottom. Just do it on the top. Ooh, satisfying. Okay, let's close it now. Okay, there's one more thing I have to do. Lock this up. And that seems normal, but there's an issue with this lock. You see, it's not gonna fall apart, but I don't have that super secure feeling. And the reason for that is that this bolt right here is usually greased up. It is greased. My finger's slightly dirty now. You can turn it outward, okay? It's not going to take much, but because it comes out, it hooks onto this little latch right here. This latch is like a friction latch. You can feel it on that screw once you pull this up. So you turn it out a few times, and that should make it have a really tight fit. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it twice, just like that. Now you can feel it. Okay, you just pull this up. You can feel how tight it is. That's a little bit too tight. I don't want it to be a chore to close, so I'm turning it back. Okay, pull this latch out. Okay, now I can feel that very tight pull, but it's not too tight that, you know, somebody wouldn't be able to open. See, now nice and tight, and it's not going to fall out either. Okay, because you still have the safety switch. All right, so this test is not going to be the most scientific. I'm just going to try to turn this off as much as I can. I'm gonna have to take it for a ride. Be right back.
At this point, I'm going to do some rough riding, and the point of it is just to see if there's still flaws in the system, if the battery gets dislodged or not. I'm of the opinion that if you have one of these quick disconnect type batteries, that there's a good chance that it can dislodge, and this is like the third e-bike that I've had it happen to. All right, I think I fixed it. And the Jetson Haze is the larger, more expensive e-bike made by Jetson, while the onebot X6L is the more expensive, larger mini e-bike styles made by onebot. Both are relatively small e-bikes made for easy storage, made for easy transport, made for broke Asians. And in this video, I'm going to be comparing the two. onebot is a company that makes a bunch of small styled e-bikes. They have 5 different S-series models ranging from small to really small. Jetson offers a lot as well, like the Bolt, like the Bolt Pro, like the Atlas, like the J-series, and the Jetson Haze. Let's do a rundown of parts, starting with 160mm rotors and mechanical brakes. These have good stopping power. These are not big, gigantic bikes. They stop well. They both have front lights. However, the Jetson Haze has this rear light which is integrated, which is powered by the battery. Both have these front and rear fenders, and they do an adequate job of preventing all the mud and gunk to get on your back. Their kickstands are rather basic, and being basic, that means that they are prone to being damaged. Let's take a look at their height. These are made for tall people. And compared to something like the Jetson Bolt Pro. So you've got a few inches here and a few inches here, and inches can matter a lot to some people. Let's look at the material. This is aluminum, it's hard. This is magnesium, it is also hard. Magnesium is lighter, it is more expensive. However, it does have some flaws. It can corrode. It has some give, which gives it better comfort, but it also means that it's easier to break. Aluminum is the easier choice in that it's lightweight enough and it's cheap. But technically speaking, magnesium is a more premium type of metal. The onebot appears much larger, but because of the premium magnesium, it weighs just about the same as the Jetson Haze. Let's talk about the motor. 350 watts for the Jetson Haze, 250 watts for the onebot S6L, and this can imply some things, but it may not be what you think. More on this later. Similarly with the battery, Jetson Haze has 48 volts, 7.5 amp hours. The onebot S6L has 36 volts, 7.5 amp hours. The total capacity is a bit different, and due to the voltage, since true capacity is measured in watt hours, the onebot S6L has 280 watt hours, while the Jetson Haze has 360 watt hours, and that is about a 40% difference. This also implies some things, but it might not be totally accurate. The Haze has a 48 volt battery, and feeding the controller the higher voltage, it produces higher wattage, but it's throttled. And it's likely because the controller is being held back as if it was being mind controlled by an obsessive spouse. On the flip side, it will be less prone to drag issues, and if you're heavy, the Haze is much more responsive. There is a notable difference in climbing abilities. On the 15% hill grade test, the Jetson Haze throttle only was able to go a full 2 houses further in distance, throttle only, and that is impressive considering how much I love Chick-fil-A. Bruh. Pedal assist. The Jetson Haze has a single gear. The onebot S6L has 6 speed. Both felt good pedaling up the hill, and despite having only a single gear, the Jetson Haze has gear and power going for it, and that combination works exceptionally well when climbing hills. Both were similarly decent when pedaling up very steep hills. Let's talk about comfort. The Jetson Haze is shorter and the seat is somewhat okay. Despite that, it's even better than the onebots. The onebot is a bit stiff, and there is something about these shocks right here. The Jetson Haze has a better shock system for whatever reason. It could be that it's better material, could be it's better shock, or it could be the geometry. If you look right here, they're slightly different in angle. On the other hand, these handles by Jetson, they're just not all that great. This is a full throttle, and the onebot has a half throttle, and the half throttle is just a superior system. On top of that, these hand rests, this is a softer rubber, it's more grippier, and it's more durable. However, the onebot has a sizable omission when it comes to comfort, and that is the lack of cruise control. The Jetson has this button right here. You press it, you go on cruise control. The onebot, you just fiddle around, look for it. You press up, you hold up, and it becomes a light. You hold the M button, and the bike turns off. And you might have noticed that the onebot has this button down here. What is it? Well, the Jetson Haze has this bell right here. This one has an electronic horn, far superior. If we're going to look at the folding mechanism, they're essentially the same between these two. They have like this two-way folding mechanism. You press, you hold, you fold. It's quite easy. The handlebars are the same way. I mean, foldability, it doesn't matter as much with the Jetson Haze. You might not even have to fold it. You can toss it in a van like this. And if you have a smaller vehicle, fold the handlebar. This might be enough to get you into smaller vehicles. However, the onebot, you know, being overly large can be seen as a positive, but it has its negatives as well. You have to fold it completely down to be able to fit into any vehicle because it is large. A smaller thing is that the retaining magnet of the onebot seems to work much better than the Jetson Haze, because the Jetson Haze, it has just like a metal circle. This has like a metal bar that retains the magnet in place. Both have these internal batteries, which is great for aesthetics. It's great for long-term storage for like the winter or whatnot, anti-theft, or swapped for double the range. When it comes to the display, there's a night and day difference. The Jetson Haze has 4 battery level indicators. The onebot has a LCD display where you can adjust power levels 1, 2, 3. You can show the trip a distance, odometer, and trip time. You can get to the exact nanosecond when you have to go home, as indicated by the nagging wife. All right, let's talk about a tough topic, and that is support. Based on my previous experience with the Jetson, based on what I've seen from the onebot website, where there's more than one, which makes it a bit confusing even for influencers that are sponsored. The support is what you would expect coming from the IRS. Bruh. Services rendered is not going to equal to the monetary collection. Budget bikes, budget support. And that's just the way things are when it comes to bicycles in general. When you buy a Huffy, are you really going to get support from Huffy? No, you're gonna bring it to a bike shop or you're gonna work on it yourself. These are definitely more complicated than typical bikes. These are electric bikes, so there's more electrical components. There's controllers, there's pedal assist, there's the braking mechanism where it detects that you're braking to cut off the engine. And in the case of the onebot, there's even a derailleur. But aside from that, I mean, you're working with rotors, you're working with mechanical brakes and mechanical lines. It's not overly complex to work with. The time that you spend to bring it to a bike shop, well, you can just research the topic and possibly fix it at home. You start simple, and that's just by learning how to adjust these brakes. Just turning it this way right here, it's gonna make the brake tighter. And from there, you build upon your knowledge. I mean, contrary to popular belief, you know, Asians weren't born knowing calculus from the womb, except for like Japanese. These small skills you build over the lifetime of owning an e-bike, because in-person support from the brand itself. But wait, with the Jetson Haze, you can see the bike in person, so you can buy the bike in person and you can return the bike in person. And because Costco has a generous return policy, you can bring it back and vent your frustrations right there to the staff right before they toss it in the landfill. The fact that you can see the Jetson Haze in person is a big deal. You don't have to trust the word of an AI generated YouTuber. Maybe you're not up to dealing with intermittent electrical problems. Maybe you're not up to dealing with bent rotors. Maybe you're not up to dealing with squeaky brakes. And that
is where the Costco return policy is going to come in clutch. Other than that, we'll be moving on to other parts. The Jetson Haze has metallic folding pedals. onebot is plastic. Wheels 16 versus 20 inch, and who knew 4 inches would be so substantial. Bruh. The build quality, not so straightforward. The Jetson Haze, it definitely has a more polished look because the lines are tucked in neatly. The handlebars definitely go to the onebot. The seat, you know, I'd say the Haze is not better built, but it's more comfy. This one is actually a better built seat. And the frame, magnesium versus aluminum. In the rear, somewhat interesting because the Jetson Haze has no mounting points. It just has, it has these mounting points right here for a small little rack, which might be possible. And the onebot, it has a more interesting setup, but there are no pieces available right now. It does have a point down here and these two right here. So it's possible that you have one of these more conventional style mounting for the rear rack. But currently there is no OEM solution. All right, let's circle back to the range. And the Jetson Haze has a 48 volt. This has a 36 volt, 280, 360 watt hours. So you're thinking Jetson Haze is the winner, but it's not. I got 14 miles range and 15-mile range with the onebot. And the reason for that is the less powerful motor. Well, you would think that that's a negative, but because of that, you get longer range. And on top of that, the less powerful motor does not imply lower speed either. The onebot is faster, going up to 17 miles an hour compared to 14 miles an hour on GPS. So which one is the better pick for you? And for most people, that's going to be the Jetson Haze because you can get at Costco the no nonsense return policy with a somewhat complex device. Makes it an easy choice. However, if you're a more serious commuter, the onebot, it does offer the 6 gears, and the gears with the pedal assist, you can get significantly longer battery life because this is one of the few bikes that actually pedals well. It may not seem like it, but this pedals well compared to the Jetson Haze. Jetson Haze has more power, so if you're a heavier person, if you're pulling some sort of cargo rack, not a cargo rack, but if you're pulling like a trailer, okay, the Jetson Haze is going to be the one for you. It clearly has a bit more torque if you're heavy and you're weighing a lot. Yeah, the Jetson Haze is definitely the more powerful one. If you're going off-road, the Jetson Haze is going to pull you through those dirt trails, pull you through the grass better. There are enough differences for you to consider one or the other. Look at the onebot. It's much bigger, it's much taller, it's made for bigger people. However, the Jetson Haze has the power to move bigger people.
Let's talk about price. As of this moment, the Jetson Haze on their website is $899, but nobody actually pays for this price. And interestingly enough, there is no refurbished Jetson Haze available on their website. So the absolute lowest price that you can find on their website is $899. But most people are going to buy it from Costco, which sells it for currently $549. That is the lowest online price I've ever seen for the Jetson Haze. The onebot S6L is $599 with coupon code UTRUTHER. I don't think 10% is large enough of a factor to choose one over the other. There are other things that you should consider. Do you want the size? Do you want the magnesium frame? Do you want the power? Do you want to buy it from Costco?
Today we're going to do the 19 mile per hour speed hack on the Jetson Bolt Pro. I had a little trouble following Tony's guide, hence this video. And I want to know, does it work on a 2022 model? Parts list, you need a very small screwdriver. You need a regular screwdriver. You need the Elegoo Uno R3. And you need breadboard wires, preferably gray, black, and orange. These are jumper cables that connect this board to the Jetson Bolt Pro. And lastly, a drawing of the center console of the Jetson Bolt. This is where we're going to put the rubber stoppers since they are slightly different. Start off by removing these rubber covers. remove the screws. Alright, once the last screw is out, this thing should just fall right out. And for safety's sakes, yeah, let's remove this charging cable so we don't tear it. There is one item right here. It's not connected to anything, and like I said earlier, black, gray, orange. So that's what we want to connect to later. But first, you want to remove the power cables, this big red, black, and this XT60 connector. This is so that you don't fry yourself. There we go.
For this next part, you have to load the software into your Arduino controller, and you have to create an account through Arduino Create. It's not as simple as downloading the software and running it. This software runs on your browser. So create the account as follows. You'll need to verify your email, and these steps weren't mentioned in Tony Quill's video. I would just like to mention it now. The good thing is that you only have to do this one time, and once you load the software into the Arduino connector, that's all you have to do. Alright, so now go to this link in the description. You'll see this file, and there's no way to download. So you can copy it to Notepad, save, or hit this raw button. You have this file, just right click, save as, and we'll save it to the downloads. But you don't want it as a TXT file, you want it as INO. So you erase the TXT, put quotes around it, and hit save. After you create your account, you'll probably get to this page right here. Click Learn More. Install the agent. Click Start. Download for 164. Save it. Run the agent. Do you intend to use the Arduino agent with a browser other than Chrome or Mozilla Firefox? No. Allow access. Finish. So I get an error message. We're not able to detect the installed agent. Try again. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see this agent right here. Click Next. Okay, go to Web Editor. Now we'll upload that Jetson speed hack. Hit Import. Sketches successfully imported. Hit OK. So you can read all this at your own convenience. And the target speed is 19 miles per hour. This is the safe speed as determined by Jetson. To override this speed, you'll have to sign a disclaimer. You can read the description if you want to try to override the 19, but I doubt I'll go from 12 to 19 in the first place. Plug in the Elegoo. Arduino Uno has been connected. Click the upload. Installing drivers. Your system may have opened a dialog window behind your browser. Please accept. OK. Success. Saved on your online sketchbook and done uploading Jetson speed hack.
Unplug it now, and just for context, the Jetson Bolt, not the Pro model, it has the ability to adjust speed via an app. However, the Jetson Bolt Pro doesn't have the Bluetooth module, so we're gonna push that program via Arduino board into the Jetson Bolt Pro. Time to connect. The black goes to the ground. Gray goes to 3. And on this other side, the orange goes on 5. Can you see that?
Back to this cable, the female that's not plugged into any other, we're gonna plug it up with 3 males. Start off with orange, then gray, then black. And it should look like this when you're done. Reconnect the power cable. Okay, now your board is hanging like this. When you turn it on, it should blink. That was 1 blink. So you want 2 blinks to make sure that the code is executed. Just push this reset button right here, this red key right here. Time to get this thing tested. First run. And it is a fail. So back to the drawing board. Plan B, there's 2 parameters I can change, the speed and the acknowledgement. So I'm gonna change the acknowledgement to true. From here on out, I have to repeat the process, upload to the Arduino, load the Arduino into the bike, and then do a test run again. And now for the second speed run. Goes faster, and it is a success. Based on the comments I've read, I was getting worried for a moment. Glad it's finally resolved. So that's your Tony Quill speed hack. There's only so many ways you can smack your chicken. So I wasn't able to get 19 miles per hour. However, I got 16, and that is a 23% improvement. What you don't see is that this thing pushes hard. Harder than my debt collectors. Honestly, I'm super happy with the performance of this bike, and you should be too. I probably shouldn't make this any faster because other people ride it as well, like my wife and daughter, Asian woman. Today we're going to compare the Lectric XP Lite to the Jetson Haze. The Lectric XP Lite is the smallest, least expensive e-bike made by Lectric, while Jetson Haze is one of the more expensive models made by Jetson. Both are relatively small 48-volt e-bikes made for easy transport, made for commuters, made for flat earthers. In this video, we're going to compare the motor, speed, range, size, build, everything. So let's get started. Both of these are 350 watt motors, yet they behave differently, and we'll get back to that a little bit later. Both have 48 volt, 7.5 amp hour batteries. They should get similar range. However, I got quite a bit more with the Lectric XP Lite with my very casual test. 18 miles for the XP Lite and 14 for the Haze. So the advantage there goes to the Lectric XP Lite. Speed. Well, the speed of the 350 watt motor of the Jetson Haze goes to 15 miles. The Lectric XP Lite goes to 20, although I was getting 14 and 19 respectively. And if you're going to be going on multi-mile commutes, this can make a huge difference. 5 miles more an hour means that you'll be able to outrun wild animals like the Crazy X from the boonies. This is a ton of speed difference, and being smaller bikes, you can feel it. The XP Lite seems a bit unstable at those speeds and shouldn't exceed 20 miles per hour in my opinion. However, it's okay at that speed. Let's talk about the 350 watt motor and hill climbing ability. With the smaller hills, either bike scales them fine. For really tough hills like this 15% grade, they are surprisingly close. The Jetson Haze did eke it out just a little bit, and it was a little bit more powerful, and I didn't have to really cheat the system like I did with the Lectric XP Lite. However, for all intents and purposes, they're about the same strength when it comes to uphills. Let's talk about comfort. The XP Lite is an unapologetic BMX style e-bike. It's tough, it's rough, and I feel like it's made for more active riders, while the Jetson Haze is a cruising machine that requires little to no pedaling, if ever. And here, this one is much different, if that's your thing. I like the softer seat of the Jetson Haze compared to the Lectric XP Lite. 16 versus 20-inch tires. There is a big difference look-wise, but in comfort, it doesn't feel that different because there's this rear shock, and it does make a lot of difference. The rear shock is surprisingly comfortable, and that's why it's possibly gets less range, because the ability to compress itself and lose a bit of momentum because of that. So the engine works a little bit harder. That's just my opinion. And moving on, we'll talk about the size. Both have a folding ability. Both fold up small. The handlebars fold up. The frame folds in half. Pedals all fold. It's a blessing and a curse. Folding an e-bike is like folding a towel, except for the towel is made of lead. It's nice that it can get so compact. However, it is a chore. The Haze is quite a bit better in this regard. You have the magnet that keeps your wheels from flopping all over the place, because handling an e-bike is as annoying as dealing with the IRS. You really don't want to fold it unless you absolutely have to, and that's where the Jetson Haze comes in clutch. Because it has a slightly shorter wheelbase, there's a good chance that you can fit it in your car with only the handlebars folded, and it'll fit. With the Lectric XP Lite, that is not the case. I could not fit it in any car, not the small car, not the big car. It was just a little bit too long, and for that reason, you have to fold it like a pretzel every single time. Let's talk about the informational panel. Both have the most important indicators. The power indicator is by far the most important metric. Can you get to your destination? Granted, the XP Lite has a proper display. You can see how fast you're going. It has a finer look at power levels. That said, the Jetson Haze has only 3 power levels, keeping it really simple and practical. The power levels on the Jetson Haze, they are physical controls, making it very nice to look at, because you switch it, you can feel the switch. You don't even have to look at the panel at all. It's a physical switch. So you know that you're going to get to your final destination, which is going back to your home where your kids don't love you, where there's a mess waiting for you even though you didn't make it and it's yours to clean up, where there's more bills than you can handle. Bruh. All right, let's take a look at the cable management. Nice and clean for the Jetson. Over here, the Lectric XP. Well, it goes underneath, and it's kind of, yeah, you can see it. It's not the best way to do it, but it is what it is. Moving on to the smaller things. The battery on the XP Lite. You need to have your key in there to ride it. Getting this right the first time is about as likely as being able to satisfy a modern woman. Hey, I got it. Lucky me. Every time you're going to start up your e-bike, you got to put it in from the bottom, and you're going in blind. It's like you're going to the proctologist. The rotor lock of the Jetson Haze. This thing doesn't work particularly well if you push it in like this. You hear that? It's touching the rotor already. It's very easy to touch the rotor. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't fall over me. So, I mean, right now I've got it good, and I wouldn't take it apart again, but it's just one of those things that may have looked good in theory, just not in practice. I think that was a good thing in concept, that you push that lock and your bike rotor is locked. However, somebody could just carry your bike and take it away. On top of that, the lock doesn't work particularly well. Next up, when it comes to build quality, well, the Jetson Haze has a built-in light. It looks sleek. The Lectric XP has a somewhat inexpensive looking headlight. However, it does turn with the wheel. This one is fixed forward all the time. Look at these bosses for the Lectric XP. Nice and thick. The welds, again, nice everywhere. And this one has like no welds that you can see. It's a smooth finish. However, look at this bar right here. It's just generally thicker. I believe it's thicker. This one's tapered and it's longer. This one's shorter and thicker. Even these things right here for the seats, This post is definitely thicker than the Jetson haze. Going to the rear and look at this cover right here to protect the bolt. This one doesn't have any. What modifications can you do with these? It's slightly easier with the Lectric XP Lite. It has mounts. Here the mounts are covered and there's no current items on the market for it. This one has the fenders, which are nicer, but they do cost quite a bit of money. Here's the fender of the Jetson haze. Up here, there's a bolting mounting points right here so that you could do a front rack if you wanted to. And here's the front fender. It's nicer than the haze, but you know, the haze, it comes with it and it's free, and this one is around $60. The Jetson haze is quite limited. You're limited in the rack you can put in the back because it has a shock, so it pivots. You can't really put a rack that sits on the rear tail. You have to put it on the neck of your seat. Next up, we have a look at riding accommodations. We have a slightly different throttle system. This one is full handle. This one is half handle. I prefer half, and I prefer thumb over half. However, it is what it is. The front handlebar can only go so high. Well, it's a fixed height, where the Lectric XP Lite, the front handlebar can extend. Check out the rear design of the Jetson haze right here. You see that this arm can only move so much. You see, there's not a whole lot of range. It's limited to somebody that's maybe 5'3" to 5'7" for optimal size. Beyond that, it's not really optimal. Whereas the XP Lite, that rear seat can go ultra high, along with the handlebars going very high, so it could accommodate a wide variety of users. Lastly, how can we forget is the price. The Jetson haze goes for $5.99, or sometimes, if you're crazy enough to buy it on their website, it's $8.99, the same price. Well, no, $8.99 is even higher than the XP Lite. XP Lite goes for $7.99. Jetson haze is $5.99. That's $200 difference. But you're getting the Jetson haze at Costco. It often goes on sale for $4.99, making it a solid $300 less. That's almost half price. But if you get the remanufactured ones, you get it for $3.99. That is exactly half the price of the XP Lite. However, let's just say for the sake of it, $4.99, you're getting a bike that is significantly cheaper. It does go significantly slower, so there's a lot that goes into the price that you get. I mean, what you're paying for the extra with the XP Lite, you're getting your money's worth. I mean, there is no free lunch right now. If you want that extra speed, well, it's the XP Lite. If you want the accessories, it's the XP Lite, and it'll cost you. These accessories for the XP Lite, it's not cheap. It has a proprietary rear rack type system. Certainly you can use a rear neck type of rear rack, but you know, if you've already gone this far, the rack from Lectric XP is superb. It is outstanding. It supports 70 pounds. It is ridiculously well made, but it'll cost you a bit. It doesn't come with fenders, but tell you what, when you get the fenders, they're much higher quality than the Jetson haze. And at the same time, you're looking at $900+. So is all of that worth it? Well, it depends, I guess. If you can afford it, certainly get the XP Lite. It's just a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Granted, it will never be as small as the Jetson haze, and it will always be a little bit more annoying compared to the Jetson haze. And with the haze, I mean, you're getting a decent bike, and one day, you know, somebody might hack it, because I seriously know that this thing can go 20 miles an hour. It's just that it's capped at 15, 14.
Today I'm going to talk about the top 10 accessories that you should get for the Jetson Bolt Pro. These are items that are going to make your life a lot easier and your rides more enjoyable, starting with number 1, the cell phone holder. And they come in these two simple varieties. This clamp-based system can fit up to an iPhone Max, the biggest size iPhone you can get. and you just open it, you drop it in, and you can lock it from behind. The biggest flaw with this type of system is that if you have something in the rear, like this ring holder of the iPhone mini I have right here, it no longer fits. If you have a big bulky case, it won't fit as well. This rubber band case will work with just about anything. Here's the iPhone mini with the ring still in place, and you can see that it is not an issue. It stays in here nice and solid. It's not going anywhere. My son uses this one. I use this one because I have a removable magnet ring and it works extremely fast, and I just like it that way. Number 2 on the list is to reduce your form factor just a little bit more, and they are these Schwinn folding pedals. Check these out. You pull them and then you fold them. Does 4 inches really make a difference? Should I ask my wife? Of course it makes a difference.
Wow!
Number 3 on this list is comfort for your rear side. While these seats are soft, you need something bigger, wider, better. Here is a bike roo seat. Look how big it is. The outings you have with the Jetson Bolt Pro tend to last a lot longer than you expect. As I rapidly progress in age, the last thing I want to do is add to my collection of pain points. Found this on Amazon, $12.83, links in the description. Number 4 on the list has to be this type of rack. These can be routinely found on Amazon from $26 to $44, and never mind the fake reviews, they're all the same. What's really important is this vertical arm right here. That means that it can support a lot of weight, and this right here is a lot of weight. Number 5 is a child seat. This one is the eBay special for $17.99. It mounts right here, rests on the frame right here. Your child sits right here and holds their hand right here. It does the job. Alternatively, DYU has a seat kit which fits like this. It's a cleaner look, less interference. However, these cost a lot more. It was on sale at Wish for $25. So hey, I gave it a try. These seat kits are great because it can double as a rack in the front. You can easily fit a small backpack right here. Another great thing is that my son isn't the only person trying to get mommy to leave him alone. Just look at it. Grade A seats for your kid or your backpack. Onwards to number 6, it's got to be safety gear. And yes, you got to do it. These things are small and hard to see. And sure, you may already understand the laws, and the right of way may not necessarily mean not being ran over. Bruh. People have blind spots, people can make mistakes, and challenging a car is probably not the wisest thing you can do. Being more noticeable means that you're less likely to be confronted by a car. However, it also means that you're more likely to get pulled over. It's your choice. Number 7, you notice how easy it is to just grab a bike and take it away? You need a lock. And it's got to be a decent lock. This one is a kryptonite. Just look at this chain and how thick it is. You want something to deter thieves, and this will do it. Best to lock the bike through the central part of the frame. There are no openings. It cannot escape the central part, and they probably won't cut it because the bike won't be usable anymore. Here's another lock that I like because it doesn't require a key, just a number system. Downside is that this thing is slightly thinner, so higher chance for a thief to cut through it. Number 8 on my list has to be the tool collection. Pliers, wrench, crimpers, yes, crimpers, a really good tool bag, and a number 4 and number 5 Allen key set. You just have to have both. The bike also comes with this handy wrench set right here. However, because of the odd size, it's hard to find the multi-tool, so please leave a comment on which multi-tool you use. I'm having a hard time finding the right one because of this axle piece. This is 3/4 inch or 19 millimeters. I can't find any multi-tool that has a 19 millimeter wrench. Bikes typically use something smaller, so for now, this goes back into the tool bag. Number 9, what is missing here right now? A left-hand mirror. I got 2 for $7.99. Seems like a good deal. Chances are you're primarily a right lane driver, so you don't need both mirrors. You only need one side. Just yank this off, plug it in, And number 10, when your bike is not in use, you need to keep it protective. You need a cover. I've had this cover for many years. It's quite durable and it only cost me $18. Life hack, this is a barbecue cover. It's meant for a grill like this. However, I bought it as a replacement for my bike cover, which fell apart in a year. I'm finding out that the barbecue cover is even more rugged. It's definitely more thick and a bit more heavier. It's rain, snow, and sun resistant. And best of all, it fits both of my Jetsons, probably even fit a third one. Highly recommended. Anyhow, let me know if I missed any accessory that you personally got that's not on my list. Leave it in the comments below. This is the Jetson Bolt Pro, and today I'm going to show you how to turn it into a 2 or even 3-seat bike. And for the lowest amount of money, because I am an unapologetically cheap Asian. I actually overspent, and later in the video, I'll show you how to avoid overspending. These seats work independently, so I'll have a chapter for this seat, and then I'll have a chapter for this seat. So starting off with this first seat right here, this is the U-Rider BKS 017A Easy Folding Kid Seat for a bicycle. I got it on eBay for $17 plus tax, free shipping. It was around $20 total. It's designed for quick mount and dismount. If you look right here, it has a quick detach. One slight problem is that if you're using this rear seat, you can see a problem that it's going to hit the seat and it's essentially dead in place. Once you lock this, you have to install this one first and then install this one second. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do 2 seats. Otherwise, this isn't going to be a problem. So when you first get the seat, it comes like this. You're thinking, what the hell? There is a limitation with the seat. There has to be one exact angle, and it's around 120 degrees or something. You'll get there, and it has to be at this exact angle. If it doesn't go in this exact angle, you cannot fit it onto your bike. So that is one of the other limitations. Here it is. You'll see what I mean in a second. Save yourself some trouble and put down this arm. This folding mechanism probably won't work anymore. That's just something you're going to live with. So you want your arm about 7 inches up right here. And then you put it on like so. Just leave it. Now get this arm back up again. Remember I told you about that angle? It's because of this. There's hardly any gap right here. There's just a very small gap because this housing right here, it sticks out just a little bit. It's a very tight fit. Just put it that way, but it does fit. So that's not an issue. You won't be able to go to the very top because of the taper, so back down about 1 inch. Tighten this by hand so as far as you can go, and then it takes a little pressure. Just close it up. Now it's super tight and we are in place. Okay, you see there's a tiny little gap between there. It might even rub, but there is a gap between there. And okay, so there's a little bit of a problem now, is that this thing comes with the lamest pegs ever. So you just have to add rubber bands. But the legs, the pegs, they don't go in place. And another thing you have to adjust is this bolt. I mean, there's these slots where it can go. It just simply goes to the very highest corner. I mean, it belongs to this side right here. But you just put it on the highest corner, and this thing is designed to rest in place. And it just rests right on top of this. And now you've got your seat. It is stiff as heck. I have put around 140 pounds on this. I had both of my daughters sitting on this when I first got it because they both wanted to ride it. This arm, I found out it works best when it's about 90 degrees. And when you're using the seat, there's one other thing you have to consider, and it's this top bar is just unsafe. I mean, your kid is going to sit close to the front right here, and then this bar, this clamp, you know, if they tip forward, they're gonna hit their head and they're gonna have a hole in their head. And that's probably not a good idea. And what I did was I put this foam cap on. So this foam cap belongs to the wheel when you buy the Jetson. It's very stiff and dense foam. I'll show you how I put it on. Quite simple. You get a knife and you just do like a triangular notch, like this angle, and then now you have places where you can use a rubber band, or for my purposes I use a scrunchie. So you open this up, feed 2 rubber bands or 3 or whatever. So I'm gonna, because I only have 1 thick and 2 thin ones, I'm putting 3. Close this back up. This foam padding already has a hole from the bolt, so we're just gonna put it into that hole. And with the straps, the notches we did earlier, you just pull the rubber bands over here. As you can see, it's quite simple. You can see it has a tendency to get into place again. Nice and simple head protection for the little one. Before you get into this work, a lot of these bolts will come already tightened. You want to loosen everything, and then you just want to tighten just a little bit so everything is still mobile. You don't want to do the tightening part until the finale. That's where you tighten up everything. Onto the rear is this rack. The one I got is from Rock Bros. Costs around $42. However, you probably do not need to spend $42. And there are other options I'll explain later in the video. But we're going to get started with this. And the seat is the top cabin. It just goes in like that and bolts on the bottom. But there are some things you'll need to know about the carrier. It comes with this clamp system. However, obviously it's too fat. It can't fit on here. On the flip side, the Jetson has a brake caliper screw right here. It's going to be too short because you want this arm on there as well. However, when you get this carrier, you get a longer bolt, and this thing bolts directly in, and it even, let me show you, see, it works directly and even in the back. Kind of hard to tell, but the brake caliper is cleared as well. It's just long enough for the thickness of this bar. So that is the first side. It's just plug and play. These extra hardware accessories, you toss them away. This side is slightly more concerning. There is a bolt. Okay, it goes in directly. You see the Jetson bike has these 2 holes, and this one is gonna go through just fine. The bike itself is pre-tapped, so you just screw it in. There is no rear nut. However, you can certainly add the rear nut if you want to feel better. I'll probably add it on. Yeah, I'm putting it on. The reason I put on that nut in the back is that because this bolt is actually thinner than this side. This side is these are thicker bolts, and they're tapped in. But since they're thicker, I don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, here's a problem. I have this arm screwed in here with the pannier holder. However, they are not supposed to share it. This arm actually belongs in here. So this will not carry the full specified 110 pounds. I'm just warning you, it is very strong. However, that full weight capacity is not going to happen. But if you're considering what's going on back here, okay, the load of the weight is here and instead of here. This pivot is going to be really easy to break because the child is going to sit right here, and if the pivot's back here, well, that's, you know, that's a leverage of almost 12 inches. And if the child sits back here and right here, the pivot is only like 4 inches, so there's like at least 3 times holding capacity. That's just my rough math into it. I am an Asian. Another reason why you can't adjust it much is because this arm right here is kind of fat. So you cannot move it this way much. And if you move it this other direction, well, you have this problem right here. This arm simply isn't long enough. Okay, so if you could move it to the left, that way, then yeah, you can get it into this spot, but then your arm is too short. On this side, you really can't move it because of this brake caliper. You see, it's right next to this arm already. So if you're trying to move this arm backwards to here, it's not going to happen. You're going to have like a custom arm that comes out from here, possibly up to here, and then attached to here. That's the only way you can make it happen. But other than that, from my testing, this thing does feel substantially strong and very strong because, like I said, the pivot point is right here and the child is right here, so they're sitting right underneath the weight. I mean, right underneath this load bearer. It's not going to be an issue. Alright, this is the final bolt of the install. This is where you're going to want to tighten, but before you even tighten, there's something you want to do, okay? Because you don't want any pressure on this neck right here. You want to push this up. Push it up just a little bit. See, you want to push it up so that all the pressure is going to sit on these arms. You don't want it sitting on the neck. So you want it to sit on the arms. You push it up and then you tighten it. Yeah, this thing is solid. Top cabin rear seat, it goes in like this, you see, and there's a slight taper if you look at it, so you want to get it in the right direction and move it all the way to the front before tightening it. And there's a little problem. If you move it all the way to the front, it's actually too close to this metal bar, so you have to move it back by half an inch or a quarter of an inch to get it working. But there's a problem now, and that, you know, this e-bike was designed to be small, and now it's sticking out by 2 inches. If you're okay with that, then just leave it. You're good. I'm not. This thing is coming off. I'm just gonna have to saw it off, and so you just you mark an incision with a pen, or you know, just grab a physical marker like this. There you go. There's my mark somewhere there. I just found out that this is a rivet, so I'm gonna have to take a hammer and a screwdriver and just break this off. And then I use self-tapping screws afterwards, probably around right here. As it turns out, I don't know how to remove a rivet, so I'm going to try it with the Allen wrench right here. Okay, so that was around 2 inches cut. I had to drill a hole. I had to drill 2 holes. Okay, so this has been filed after I cut it. Okay, time for the seat. Okay, the taper end goes this way. Let's see how close I got it. Wow, this thing is butting right here at the end. I had like a 5 millimeters. It's extremely close to being over. It might be over once I start putting these on. This is a royal screw up. There is a longer one than the shorter one. So the longer one goes in the back, the shorter one goes in the front. I messed up. When you are putting on these brackets, make sure that they are turned up like a U. Both brackets, just remember, short one in the front, long one in the back. Final revision, I ended up taking this apart at the axle, and this little peg does fit in the slot. On this other side, I moved it from this bolt down here. I took out the 2 washers and then I moved it to this rear back here. And now this just barely hits this thing right here, this bolt. That's why I took out the washers. But other than that, it works just fine. This is enough that it just doesn't, it's not gonna unabruptly just fall on you. Yeah, these footrests are solid. I mean, it's not a peg. A small kid can probably use it as a peg, but I would not suggest an adult standing on this full force. It'll probably break. This seat up here, I did move forward, and so now this is in front of the seat. Just saves that extra little space, a centimeter. Another view, this is a self-tapping screw and it works just fine. So yeah, this thing can definitely support the weight. You know, I wouldn't use a full-size person on the back. Although, yeah, it feels good. I mean, I'm 170 pounds and it does feel fairly solid. Whoa!
He wants to play with the fountain.
I don't like the
Come on, you go in the back. Hold my seat.
Lean forward or you're gonna fall, Jesse.
Come on, put your foot up here.
Okay, just leave him. Why don't you use the throttle?
This thing has pedal assist, you know? So what I bought was this top cabin seat. It's $16.50, not the end of the world. That's a pretty good deal, to be honest. And then I got this Rock Bros carrier, and this thing is $42.99. Well, let's go over to this one. This is a similar item that my brother-in-law got, and I recommend it to him because they look exactly the same. This one is $26.99. Yeah, so you're saving like $17 because this is not by Rock Bros. This is just a generic rear bike cargo bike carrier rack, and it has everything in it. Look at that. It has a copy of that mud flap. It has these connectors right here, but it doesn't have the quick connect. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to be using the quick connect. In fact, you don't use this connection system at all. You just, that goes in the trash. And then this part is the same. This shape is exactly the same. The specs look similar, and my brother-in-law got this one instead and saved. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. See you in the next one.